Didn't start the YouTube side of stream. My bad, YouTube people. I'm so bad. I'm sorry. The poor tubers. I literally like prepped the entire YouTube side of things and then just never hit the button. I feel terrible about that. I'm sorry, guys. Hopefully there are people over there still lurking after that. I have pen and paper ready for the Aoko review. Okay. 50,000 reacts for 30 cent quarts also. Yep. I did see that. I think I retweeted it already. I think today has been a blur for me. So obviously we had all the like collab news and stuff come out. I'm going to talk with you guys about that. And then on the flip side, today was, as I said, my True Freedom Day. I had to actually get one of the biggest returns in the office done that I had been waiting until after tax season to do. It was due technically not today, but my father gave me an ultimatum that I must have it to him by today because he is like basically going to be leaving the country on vacation for a week or two. And so he was like, no, you got to get it to me. So I was like, oh crap. And that's where I was just like, man, I like had to get it done today. So in reality, I actually haven't gotten too much time to like sit down and process all the info, but I did spend the entire like hour and a half I had before stream doing just that. So I am up to date on everything. My brain is full. My tiny little pea-sized brain is full of all the information that you guys need to know. But first and foremost, we have to roll. And before that, Cad has to literally spend some AP. So there's that. Real quick though, yeah, we did get the CQ unlock on NA. I am just gonna quickly like run in here on NA here and do the 40 AP, spin that down, and then we should be good. Smooth FGO brain, yep. Gamba, the mods can definitely put out a Gamba for NP1 if they want, but I'm not going to hard force them. Do not beat me on the CQ and take 41 turns with Immortal comp. I mean, hey, as long as it works, right? Yeah, it doesn't sound like it was great. What SR am I going to choose? I still haven't decided. I will probably pick the SR with you guys Monday because there's no like pressing need. Also, just for anybody that has the question, you cannot exchange for your 4-star yet on NA. You have to wait until tomorrow. That was something I talked about on the video, so please understand. This was something that we fully anticipated. You've answered that so many times. I know. What CE am I going to take? I don't know. I haven't looked into any of that. That, like, honest to God, chat, this will probably just be a split-second decision for me. Normally, though, it's not. Normally, I'm really good with 4 stars. Like 4-star tickets, I can pick it very easily. Do you think of any great C that gives damage and charge per turn? Well, what do you mean by damage? Because there's plenty of Cs that can give charge per turn, but what do you mean by damage? And what I would do, in all seriousness, because I'm just going to be upfront with you and say that I really actually don't know most of those off the top of my head. So my advice would instead be to go on fandom, go under the CE category, sort and filter it, and look for it by charge per turn. And then look at any of those that you can come up with that would actually like be something that would fit the unit that you're looking for. Exactly, Lucario. Chris, thank you for the 41 months. No Earthly Clue, thank you for the 10 months. Ack Monster, thank you for the 5. Czar, thank you for the 57. You're getting close, Czar. Pietro, thank you for the follow while I was offline. And I believe Deontay, thank you for the follow as well earlier today. Or not the follow, the resub earlier today. Is Aoko power creep a must-have? No. That's the safest way I can say that. No, you do not have to have Aoko. Aoko does some new stuff. You're going to probably want to have her for that, but it's totally up to you to determine how you want to do that. And I'm still thinking about exactly how I want to process this news when I do the review with you guys later about like, hey, like, how do I want to handle actually like feeding you all the information? Yeah, she's very fancy. I do agree with that. Hello, Evie. How's it going? Yeah, the goal here is going to be to get into the rolls right away. I probably have to do a 40 AP run on JP, purely due to the fact of like, again, my AP is about to cap out over there. So like again, I barely kept my AP at bay the entire day today. I was very lucky. I finished work 5 minutes late for finishing work. That is how like on the line I was for like getting my stuff done. A lot of that though was I was actually done ahead of the end of the workday, but some stuff cropped up that made it more annoying. All right, let's get rid of him. Cad, you could have just made Blapples. Oh, you're right. I actually didn't think about that. I actually could have made Blapples. I probably don't want to on my NA account, though, in that regard, just simply because, like, one, there is an event going on, and two, my JP account, as it currently stands, is beginning to run out of seedlings. I'm not, like, dangerously close, but it's enough that, like, that number is dwindling, and I need to keep my eye on it. And so, as a result, I still... My advice to you guys on Blue Apples is you can certainly use them when you want, but just be careful about like when and how you use them. Because if you use them too frivolously, you'll run out of the seedlings and you won't be able to make more. So my advice to you guys is try to only do it when there's nothing else going on. And even then, still do your 3 runs a day so that you get all the like stuff for your daily rewards, like the essential material tickets and stuff like that, the mana prisms and all that. I ran out of seedlings in 9 months on JP. Yeah, and that's honest to God, you shouldn't run out as long as you're playing the game. From what I've seen so far, it's if you literally just only make Blue Apples and log in and you never spend your AP, you will run out. And that's why I'm telling you guys that. Okay, we're going to do that. This is the last run here on NA. I play FGO too much to actually use Blue Apples now. And if that's the case, you're fine then. Probably only use them when I'm in a rush and can't do a run. That's a lot of the time. So like I said, if I'm not in an event, I do my 3 runs every day and then I make Blue Apples. Okay. If I am in an event, I don't make Blue Apples. If there is a half cost opportunity, I don't make Blue Apples. Like I literally will go do the things that like the game is telling me to do. And like, that's it. Right. Like, but if there is truly nothing else going on, then yeah, I will at least try, right? Like I will at least try to make the Blue Apples and kind of bank it towards a time period where there's maybe something better going on. Nice, Retro, congrats. You don't Blue Apple week 3 of events once you already cleared everything? No. And I'm going to tell you why right now. You don't clear everything. Like the way the events are actually designed at this point on JP now, you rarely finish the event early. And the only time you ever do usually has, and like when I say early, I mean like, yeah, you might finish like 2 days before the end, but you won't finish like a week early. The only way you finish a week early is if you're literally just like you rolled and you have a ton of Cs. That's it, right? That's the only way you're going to finish early. The only other way would be to pop apples. At which point, if you pop apples to then later make Blue Apples, you're being inefficient and wasteful. Don't do that. It's not a good idea. Yeah, I mean, the storm pods are perfectly like, once you guys get access to them, those are the 3 runs a day that you do. Oh, sweet, I got another cranking. Actually, I might be able to MLB now. I'm well on my way to a second MLB already. So I think that's like my 3rd drop potentially or something like that. And you get 5 like guaranteed by the event. So I probably only need 2 more for a second MLB. You're at 8? Yeah, I think that's what I'm at as well right now. Or if I'm not at 8, I'm at like 7 and I still need 1 more from the ladder. Having terrible CE drop rate though, it happens. Some events it's really good, some events it's not. If you do the 90 plus more, you're more likely to get them just because the like slightly higher rate, right? For Lartoria and Laltra anniversary outfits in the game. Oh, I wish. I would love any of Lartoria's like Annie C's to have been turned into an outfit. Been good this event. I'm just waiting for one last one from the points and ladder for second MLB. Nice. Yeah, and I mean, again, you guys still have plenty of time, so. Nice, Lurid. Hello, Muramasa. Chatting from YouTube is weird. It do be like that, Hub. And sorry, I'm just now looking over at you guys on the YouTube side of things. I was late starting the YouTube stream. I apologize for that. I'm not normally that late. I just literally like got everything ready for the YouTube side of stream and then pressed the button, but didn't press the button. And I was like, oh crap. Okay, so I got to do the level 50 node here. This is all Berserkers. According to what Trubs told me. Where did I put that? Oh no. I believe it's male lawful good is the requirement to get extra spawn in this. And I assume this is either an all node or a bronze node based off of what's available. Which, what is this? Hold on. I am on Berserker and I should be on Caster. Okay, that is, I believe, the 5-star MLB. Let's take Air here with the 3-star MLB. Because again, you guys can see I only have that. Do I have a male lawful good in here? Is Sieg male lawful good? I think he is. Neutral good. Damn it, Sieg. Let me think. Who the hell is lawful? You gonna talk about the Gorilla Quest? The Gorilla Quests are gonna piss people off. I heard about them this morning. Trubs was telling me about them before stream. There is apparently a randomly spawning thing once a day for only about like 2 hours that you have to find the hint for in order to unlock. And if you unlock it and do the node, you get a ton of ascension mats. And it's like a once a day type thing, but if you can't read Japanese, it's gonna be a piece of crap. So like it's, yeah, like I said, it's not a, like, it's an interesting gimmick. I know why they're doing it. It's because it's Golden Week, so everybody in Japan has off. But it's, yeah, it's like nobody wants to have to babysit their phone. So that's kind of a problem. At least that is my understanding of them. Someone in chat has a different understanding. Feel free to correct me. Lawful. Okay. Lawful good and a male and a looper potentially. Well, Jason is one, which is kind of wild. Oh, here's one. This should be a relatively good one. Oh my god, where is he? Chat, where's my Percival? Holy crap, why am I not seeing him? Do I not have... No, I know I have Percival on JP. Do I not? He's gone. Maybe I don't have him on JP. I could have sworn I did. It may be Jason. Okay, let's try this then. Weird to me that Sieg is neutral good, and then we have this fellow here who is who is lawful good. Percy was the real friends we made along the way. It feels that way. Am I good for every other thing? You know, I don't even know if our new welfare counts as it. Gorgeous P is very lawful good. I mean it's just I feel like if anything he's more like neutral, right? And I only say that because like while Gil might be somewhat like on the side of good in his caster form, he's also kind of a dick still. Like not nearly as much as his archer form, but he straight up will like make fun of you and stuff like that. So it's like I kind of go like right. Oh right, shit! I shouldn't have given him the arts up. I forgot. The whole reason we put him in here was for the extra spawn. Lawful good would be too interesting for our vanilla toast welfare. Okay. Now you say that, but I like vanilla. Did the servant release coincide with the VN release? I don't believe so, no. Just checking Aoko's kit. What the fuck is this? Yep, we're gonna go over her after I roll. It's gonna be a bit. I'm sorry about that, chat. Let's go ahead and get rid of you because honestly, I'm not gonna be able to get her to another NP. Let's do it like that. Cast Gil basically in the third slot there should do the most damage. Or he gets nothing because Shufu actually like 10% crit there. Okay, let's see. So then I believe he has a 30% charge skill, and that may be the ideal thing here. Oh no, it's 50. Wait, is it 50? I thought his was 30. Oh no, yeah, because they made okay. Yeah. Damn, it's been a hot second since I used Cast Gil as a full-blown looper. He got buffed? Oh no, I know that. He didn't even used to have the charge, and I was thinking it was 30%, but yeah, it's straight up it's 50, and it's because of like Helena and all that stuff. There's a reason vanilla became synonymous with standard because it absolutely slaps. Oh no, I know, but the way a lot of people say vanilla nowadays is that it's like a bad thing, right? That's the only reason why I say it that way. I don't trust you to not kill this time, Shufu, so. Because he's about to lose one of his arts buffs here. That's the only issue with these nodes is you can't really 3-turn them because while you can get an additional spawn in every single wave, it's not like the 6 slot nodes, so you literally get delayed and end up not being able to 3-turn. I'm not sure if that's by design. I assume it is, but it's like, man, that just feels bad in like current year FGO. After we have like 6 enemy waves that they're like enforcing this sort of thing. It's CCC all over again. Kind of. Still not as bad as CCC, but still kind of, yeah. You want an April Fool's servant? Who do you want? I want Saber Lion. Yeah, I would love like Saber Lion or Galactica Saber, right? Like from the capsule game. I think either of those would be pretty good. Hilariously enough, Galactica Saber though pretty much is what became MHX to my understanding. So use Bizette. I mean, you could use Bizette, it still wouldn't speed it up because the enemy like comes in on the next turn and has to like it's not a they fill in on the same turn type deal. Bonk. Is there any good great night medals coming up in events or a good event farming node soon? Trying to remember if Morgan Fest or Ilya Fest had night medals. I want to say one of them did, but I may be misremembering. It may be Morgan Fest because I know that's when we get Britomart. but I'd have to go back and look. Has them in the shop? Okay. Yeah, it's like I don't know if there's ever like a like here's your good node type deal. Not off the top of my head, anyways. I could go look, but I would have to go look. Sieg doesn't hold the door for people. True neutral. Yes, he's a Sigma male. Okay, now I feel bad. Anyways. Then it's Ilya Fest. It might be. Sigma male grind set? Yes. Doors over there, Cad. Oh, are you holding it open for me? How does one refund a sub? It's more like how do you end someone else's stream, right? I'm sorry, chat. I had to, right? I missed the rolls. You did not. I enjoyed the joke. Thank you. I appreciate it. Mysterious Mass Outbreak quest in the event a unique type of quest called Mysterious Mass Outbreak quest. These will appear at specific times in secret. These quests will reward you with various skill enhancement and essential materials upon clear. Yeah, it's like I said, it's kind of weird. I don't really like. I guess it's nice for those people that can do it, but obviously I think it's going to be one of those things where the vast majority of people will probably just miss out on them, and like they're not going to be happy about that sort of thing. All right, I don't know if the mods can preemptively end the prediction, but I am about to start rolls. A boo bird. Got semi-blasted rolling today. Luxackiness ran out. Yeah, I'm not, I don't have enough to like get pity, so this is definitely gonna be oof for me. You know, I actually don't know what Aoko needs yet, so let me hold off on doing the ticket there because it might help out somehow. And then let me just turn this on just to double check. Okay. And then we will go do this. You not taking my point? Oh, I take your point. Wait, no, that's grail casting. I'm sorry, chat. I literally, like, by default, when I come in here now, go check my grail casting. I have that much PTSD from having to do it all the time. Okay, so I did buy this month's tickets. Like, it is straight up a thing. Hey, the pity just took me 600 plus for the first copy. Yep. Now, I say that, but let's see. I have 43 tickets and 609 quartz. I don't know how much that would be if I converted it. It's what, divided by 7. So it was like 50 quartz, 50 plus. So 6. I've got about like 780 quartz ish. So I'm very close to pity, but not like actually at pity. Watch Cat do all this math and then luck sack it on the first ticket. Okay, no, I'm gonna be blatantly obvious and honest with you guys here and say that I'm 100% stalling until that prediction's over so that nobody gets an advantage. Is that because the prediction is still lasting for like several minutes here? I'm just straight up like not touching it. Time for AoE Buster crit meta, forehead. I mean, we already have had units that can like do crit things, right? So you ended the submission. Did you? Wait. Why does it say emotes are being delivered to supporters? Was there? Oh, there was a hype train. Okay. I was like, huh? Wait, you say that it's that you ended the submission, but I still see it on my screen. Okay, I refreshed and now it's not there. All right, we'll go ahead and begin. So, like I said, Aoko just came out. People were asking me preemptively if I was going to roll. I'm not super familiar with the Mahoyo like visual novel. I obviously haven't read Witch on the Holy Night, but I guess I know a little bit about the character. I know like basically a lot of things either by word of mouth or by reading on my own. And obviously the character is an attractive character, right? But a lot of people are asking like, would I roll? And I'm like, well, it's probably going to depend on the kit. Now, I'm going to be going over her with you guys later, right after the roll session here, but I mean, let the results here speak for themselves and the fact that I will be rolling. So that should already tell you at least a little bit about what I feel about her kit in that regard. But it definitely had no need to justify. No, it's fine, right? Like it's just one of those things where I'm just kind of saying basically why I am rolling in the end, even though I seemingly was on the fence before. Alice being the Quicksaver. Yeah, I've seen a lot of like questions as to whether or not she will be a thing and how. I am at least sad that we didn't get Toko, right? But it is what it is. Don't you think it's too early to do a servant review? Nope. Okay, so to be fair, I did have to like sit down and have sort of an emergency like meeting, if you will, of the minds, but that was mostly due to how busy I was today that I was not able to like look over a lot of these things besides that. Toko got CE'd again. Yeah, and I kind of like obviously it's a never say never type of thing, but I kind of hate that, right? Like I get that they need to like save units for later and stuff like that. I guess you could look at it and say maybe Toko is going to be the anniversary unit or something. But like she is now a possibility, but I'm not going to say that that sort of thing is even likely either. I wonder if there'll be a special animation cope. Oh, have you not seen? Is she a she-show face? No. If anything, you could argue it's the other way around, and that she-show would be based off of her, right? But no, I mean they're slightly different, right? I think the thing that I do find really funny is that they did both get a bunny form, right? Like that's actually kind of hilarious to me. Same artist, yeah. So it's like it is pretty clear like what they kind of were going for with both units. How many rolls in? We're just starting. I am just going through the tickets right now. We'll get yellow Tamamo eventually. I mean, honestly, I feel like if the demand is there, you'll get like every unit that you want, right? Like, I think it's all about popularity at the end of the day. There you go. We got one sister. But yeah, I know Nasu largely has control over it and all that stuff, so I'm not gonna say that he's just gonna immediately like throw out there for as like a cash grab where he's gonna be like, oh, this unit's not in the game yet, I'm only gonna put it out there now because I need money. I don't think that's the case, but I do think that you can kind of rely on at least demand being a thing, and so if there's enough demand, he probably will try to put it in the game. If for no other reason than he will probably hear from the fans and he'll be like, okay, like it'll make him actually consider it even if he had forgotten. Just got my first angry mango. Nice. Proper account binding may actually be a thing in the future. Yes. So this would actually be a great time to talk about it here with you guys while we're rolling. So I was asking Trubs about it today because, as you guys know, Trubs covered the live stream this morning. He was translating, and I wanted to know the specifics. So right now, basically, they have a new website up called Aniplex Online that is Japanese only. That website is apparently going to be where you go, I believe, as of May 7th. And chat can correct me if I'm wrong on that date. But I believe as of May 7th, that'll be where you can actually bind your JP account to. And that is going to be through Anaplex's website. They basically say that in doing so, that like you're going to be able to like, I guess because they kind of have like a newsletter type thing. So you're going to be able to get like updates on probably like merch and stuff like that. But they did also say that more services may be coming in the future. So there's three big questions I have. One is, will the site be expanded later on to the NA side of things? And I'm sure to a degree it will come to an A, because they're probably going to have to make some sort of change to FGO, the app, in order to allow for this sort of like synchronization in some way, shape, or form. But who knows? Maybe there's a extremely low tech way of doing it, like maybe just your transfer code is like stored on the website or something like that instead. I don't know, right? But the whole point would be that binding will at least allow you somewhat of a safer way of account recovery, where you can't just lose it as a result. And I think that ultimately is the most important thing. A assassin. Oh, hi Woo. That's not a good sign. Anyways, but yeah, so I think it will be a thing. I think it will come to an A. So that's my first question. My second question is basically, what are the additional services going to be? Are they going to end up doing something to the effect of like, hey, maybe they end up having, I don't know, like some ability to sell quartz packs on the site? Because this is a very interesting thing that you would be synchronizing your account basically to a third-party site. This is not being done through Google. This is not being done through iTunes. So I do wonder about that. And that may be a possibility, because that would allow them to somewhat circumvent the whole like marketplace fees that they pay with every transaction with every purchase of quartz. So in theory, they could still make more of a cut and still offer a quartz pack somehow even cheaper than they would otherwise on the marketplace. And it would actually be beneficial not only to them to make more money, but also to us to offer it on the cheap. So that would be really smart of them. The question with that sort of thing is legality. And like right now, there's actually a whole bunch of lawsuits going on basically with Google and Apple about their sort of monopolies that they've had on their app stores. So in that regard, like that may not be a thing right away. It may be a thing down the line in the future. And like, it's an interesting idea to think about. It would be smart of them to do. Whether or not they actually even legally can do it, though, is another story. So that would be a thing. And then there's, let's see, what was my third point there? I'm trying to remember, because now after the first 2 points, I feel like my brain has just trailed off. And thank you, lady. Appreciate it. Maybe they'll host April Fool's pranks forever? Yes. Of like Hoyo Lab or a second app for all Type Moon stuff. Yeah, no. Oh, okay. Sorry, I remember the third point. So the third point would also be, and this is my question for them is, could we actually still now, with a website and anchoring your account to that, be able to have your app on multiple devices now? Everybody knows there's kind of like the backdoor way of doing it by like cloning your phone and stuff like that. But I'm talking like, hey, you can just like put it on your phone, put it on your tablet, whatever, right? Like, so that would be a thing. And I'm curious to see if that will be allowed, or if it is just going to work the exact same way it does right now, where you must have a transfer code to move between. That would suck, but at least maybe a website makes that more consistent. So, but yeah, I'm firmly of the opinion that it continues and is a good thing, and that it will come to an A. It's only a matter of time. But we'll have to see like the specifics of it when it actually does launch. So, and if you guys are curious about it, but you're unsure, I will say this. I'm probably going to be somebody that will attempt to register. Again, we also don't necessarily know if it will be able to be done by outsiders, but you know, kind of like with creating like a Japanese iTunes account. There's kind of ways around it. So at the end of the day, like if you're curious but you're on the fence, just wait and I'll end up going through the process myself, and that'll allow you guys to have some sort of idea. Like I'm betting 90% they won't allow multiple devices. Yeah, like I don't think it's likely that they do, but I would love it if they did. And this is the sort of thing that they would need to do in order to allow it. But definitely an interesting thing. I will do it since I have a Japanese address. Oh, do you? You have a home in Japan? Can we go stay at? Is Single aware of emulators? Oh, yes. Yes, I'm sure they are. Tell them your name is Khadroth Kotatsu and you live at 7-Eleven. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I hope they do the same for the other servers. I think they will. So, interestingly enough, like, to some degree, the other servers actually already kind of have some form of account binding. I believe Korea in particular has it, and I think China does as well at this point. So, like, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. It literally was like JP and NA that really didn't have anything. Don't you also need a Japanese address if you want to attend Comic-Con? Do you really? I actually didn't know that if that was the case. Granted, well, Comic-Con I'm sure would be a real, like, crazy experience. I also, like... I don't know how comfortable I would feel at Comic-Con, because it, like, every time I see pictures of it, it looks hot. It looks like wall-to-wall people. And I'm just like, man, that's like, I'm sure it's exciting, but that has also got to be just, like, miserable. Yeah. Korea uses Google as a backup source. Right. So, and that's my point, is I think there are other servers that kind of already have this at this point. It's really just NA and Japan that kind of didn't. And it should not have taken this long for them to do it. But again, there's no point in crying over the spilled milk. I'm glad that they're actually just doing it. Like, this is a change for the better. And I love it because this is also, like, happening at the same time as the Golden Week collab. There's a lot of eyes on the game. This is the most hype collab that we've had in years. And basically at this point in time, I think it's a great thing to start being like, hey, by the way, we're making good changes you've always asked for, right? Like, it's a good way to, one, bolster the confidence of the players that you already have that are already playing it, and two, keep the players that are maybe like on the fence and had left and are coming back engaged and realize that, like, hey, things are changing for the better. So JP had like some form of binding before, but I don't remember exactly what it was. I know they had previously announced stuff. How'd they fumble the Rio event? There's a lot of theories about that. And like I said, I don't think the Rio event's actually that bad. I think most people are upset over, like, Bunyan, or they're upset because they heard JP didn't really like it. Ultimately, at the end of the day, having read through the entire story now, I actually thought the story was okay. Like, I actually really didn't think it was that bad. There's just, like, kind of Bunyan and her personality that's a little weird, but that's really it. I think I understand the JP side of things being somewhat upset, but by the time this thing had come to an A, you already knew what to expect, and it really wasn't that huge of a deal. And that's my only point with it. I would really like to see FGO on PC. I would too, actually. I feel like, especially if we can get to the point at least where we can, like, transfer between devices really easily. Like, I stream from my phone. I would, to a degree, actually probably prefer to stream from an emulator because it actually looks nicer and runs at a higher FPS. But the big reason that I stream from my phone instead is because, like, I don't want to have to sit there and constantly transfer back and forth. So, because if there's an easy way to lose your account, it's transferring between devices. That is the easiest way to lose. I feel like story's undercooked, like it needed a few more runs through the writing process. Yeah, I could see that. Like, I don't think it's the best story ever or anything like that. And I've said this before, it's like, I don't really feel like it's that bad. And I'm gonna say this too. This may be definitely a thing of like newer players versus old. Newer players may feel like this event and its quality really isn't there. Older players remember the original events and go like, yeah, this is nothing. This is nothing. This event ain't even bad, right? Like, because some of those original events were they were pretty awful. So I'm just sad Assassin didn't have any speaking roles. Yeah, I that was kind of one of my gripes with Bunyan's design, is that they smushed Ryder and Assassin into her design. I would have preferred instead if they were other like summonable units, and I think it actually would have been better for them. Journey to the West pain. So I've seen a lot of people talk about Journey to the West. It's actually not nearly as bad as people think it was. The issue with Journey to the West is a misunderstanding over how the event worked. A lot of people didn't understand that the way Journey to the West kind of worked was it was sort of a like exponential thing where the first couple like days it was kind of divided into two like week-long segments of different currencies. And you really needed to like ramp it up. And so all the payoff came in like the last day or two of that like week bracket there. And a lot of people like just gave up because they're like, oh man, I'm just not getting enough reward there. I'm never going to make it. Screw this event. And they didn't actually understand that that's how it worked. And so that's where a lot of the like negative stigma from the event comes from, is like people actually quit the event. We're like, oh man, this event is so bad. And it really actually wasn't. Is Aoko good with seeing a video about her skill that stopped penalties or something? Yeah, we'll talk about her. We're literally going to go over her kit right after the rules here. Almost said right after stream, but that was weird. And thank you, Par. Spooked me on this banner too. Nice. The story finally went somewhere and got better. Yeah, I think that's where it's like, I understand people not like liking it that much. I just, chat, I've seen the lowest of the lows that FGO has to offer. This event was nothing compared to that. And like I talked about one of them on Twitter. Everybody always forgets about the original Valentine's Day event. Nobody remembers just how bad that event was and how awful it was to have to like sit there and farm at specific times of the day for specific drop rates. And how, oh man, the event was so inefficient that you only ever bought 2 copies of the shop CE because buying more than that was bad for you. There were some really awful like early events in FGO. And like the one thing I can say about something like Journey to the West is, yeah, a lot of people didn't understand it. It wasn't that bad compared to what people actually understood about it. But at the end of the day, it's still kind of on them for designing it in such a way that it was weird and convoluted that people couldn't wrap their head around it. So at that point, it's like, yeah, I don't think it was a great designed event either. OG Saber Wars was pretty bad too, wasn't it? Yeah, to a degree. Like, and a lot of these got fixed either on their reruns or again with subsequent versions of the events. Moon Goddess Festival versus Halloween 1. What's worse? Moon Goddess Festival. Halloween 1 was okay. It wasn't the best either, but it wasn't bad. My rolls for Castorian and A, I got a C called Celebrate Memories. Is it a good C or is it okay? Let me double check here. I believe it's the anniversary C. Celebrate Memories. So it's split stats. You probably don't want to level it up to 100, but if you got it to MLB, it's actually a 60% starting charge C, so it's not awful. It's got that quick and buster up. I remember Moon Goddess Festival, ouch. Yeah, the issue with Moon Goddess Festival is it was just boring. It was 5 AP and a cloud of dust constantly. So like people complained about the fact with the Moon Goddess Festival event that like you would go into a node, you would card your way through the node, and by the time you came out, you had almost fully regen the 5 AP. So it made it very difficult for people to actually spend down their AP in. What would be your ideal crossover event? Like outside the Nasuverse or within the Nasuverse? The loading was so long back then too. Yeah. Yeah, and if you played on JP, they didn't even have like 2 times speed or anything like that. It was awful. That was the tower event stuff too, right? Those 1 AP or something. Tower events were 1 AP, but like tower events are designed that way on purpose that you can go do other stuff outside the event. Moon Goddess was not. Carnival Phantasm would be like one of my top remaining like in Nasuverse collabs because I think it would just be fun. And that would obviously be how you would get Neko Arc. But I would still like to see like Prototype and stuff like that. I think there could be some really cool stuff. And honestly, I think we all know it's coming eventually, but crap. Why am I blanking on this? The one that we're getting an anime about. Why can I suddenly not remember its name? Strange Fake, thank you. Yeah. Like my brain just immediately like failed to load that segment of my hard drive. FGO basically already is to an extent, right? Like the comedy in FGO is definitely that same type. I didn't like the first Christmas event. First Christmas event was okay, but that was our like first true lotto in the game, and yeah, I could see why people didn't like it. Lottos have gotten a lot better since that one. We ever get Redline? I think you could. I think you could get Redline and Foxtail and stuff like that. It's just that stuff probably needs to get further along and or wrap up before they actually touch it. It was the rolling of the boxes that was horrible. Oh yeah, no, straight up. Like that just was the way that it was back then. Oof, a mineral. That is the minnest of minerals right there. Perfect song for Gacha. Yep. She looks like Shisho. Yeah, I mean they're done by the same artist. This chat was saying, so I'm not surprised. Husband is trying to get me to tap into my saved up quartz for Charlie and in summer to try a few on Tamamo. I mean that's up to you. Tamamo is still a really good unit to have. I highly recommend you consider rolling for her, but it really depends on like everything else you have and what your goals are and like how you want to prioritize that. If you are just adamant that you must have some of the summer units, like it is what it is. And I'm also going to say this. Getting Tamamo, still really good unit, still can stand out and be different. But if you are planning to roll someone like Proto Merlin, maybe, ooh, nice. Actually, she might already be in P5 for me on JP. I'd have to double check that. But yeah, like if you're gonna roll Proto Merlin, I'm gonna say the need to have Tamamo is lessened. You still want her, but it's like not as big of a deal at that point. Proto Merlin and Summer Scotty. Yeah, then I'd say you're fine. And heck, like because Tamamo is permanent, she might spook you during some of those rolls. Like that's always the upside there. So my advice would be save for the limited stuff that you know is like time sensitive, and if you have the opportunity to like go after it later on, then that's perfectly fine as well. I love her animation. She's just fun to use. Yeah. Her coins are always useful considering perma 4-star coins are rough. So chat, it took us so long to get through the Bunyan story Thursday night that I didn't roll for Tamamo because I was actually thinking about rolling for her. I straight up was like, man, if we have time, maybe I will actually throw some rolls at her. And I didn't have time. That was the hilarious part. I did one YOLO multi for this banner. Got the Dioscuri spook. Yep. I mean, Dioscuri's still really good. Sad Mikon. Well, I already have Tamamo. It would have been rolling for extra and P levels. You still going to Mikon? We'll see. When can we choose our SR servant? You can choose him tomorrow. Lady Avalon and Arcued this year. Heard they are very good servants. They are. Both are very good. I think the issue that we have is between like Anniversary and Summer, there's just a like nice gauntlet there of really solid units. And it really like it's gonna be difficult on people that are more free to play in order to like get everything. And I think they're gonna just have to pick and choose what they want out of it. Is it the 28th? I thought it was literally just tomorrow. I want Lady Avalon for my Morgan. Nice. No, 27th? Okay. It unlocks at tomorrow's reset. Right. That's okay. So tomorrow's reset. So basically in the evening tomorrow. Saturday night, Sunday morning, yeah. Last summer destroyed me with Castoria, Meluko, Koyan, Oberon back to back. This year I'm skipping all. I see. All right, what do we got? Caster. There's just no way. Like, we were just talking about rolling her and that I didn't roll for her because I didn't have the time. And then she's like, bet you skip me. Like, I will come, I will find you even on another server. I mean, that's not good for my hopes of Aoko, but that's still funny. I'm sorry. Get a red wig, Cad? No. What MP is she now on JP? That's either 2 or 3. I don't remember if I got a second copy, but I think I did on JP at some point. I think that's now the second time she spooked me. Which actually probably makes her my like highest natural MP level if it is 3. That's something to say for best clips of the year. I mean, pretty much. I can't believe that. Out of all the things to spook me, the fact that it was the one we were just talking about. Oh, I'm not even going to say that name, Kazari. No, Lord, you can't exchange it yet. You got the ticket, but you can't exchange it until like reset tomorrow. Do I think a FGOX Honkai Star Rail collab could happen? I think it could, based purely off the interview, but like, I don't know. I don't really care if it does either. Also spooked you? Oof. Having Ox Demon King the shop would be cool, Lasagna. Yeah, I wonder how much they regret that CE over time. Like, it truly is like one of the biggest feathers in Buster's cap if you're actually comparing the card types and like how far you can push them. Buster just has this extra little like edge that the others don't have. An FGO get a Honkai C. I mean, that would that would just be dumb. Yep, we do have some buffs to talk about as well. If chat will remind me, I got to talk about that. I got to talk about the Mystic Code. So there's quite a bit. Sometimes it's nice to have simple things, you know? Yeah, and I've said this before. It's like, if you even consider the possibility of an external collab, the only collabs that I would want are ones where the character fits seamlessly within the Nasu-verse. I don't really want anything where it's like, oh, Goku comes in, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, you could design Goku to have like a servant's kit and stuff like that. I just don't really want to see it. It would feel so jarring, and it doesn't feel like it would fit, right? About Thanos, yeah, I mean, like, same to a degree. I'm not going to get Summer Ibuki. I mean, I'm going to say this. I know a lot of people are like kind of going back and forth in various forms on Summer Ibuki. Summer Ibuki, if you talk to people like 6 months ago, Summer Ibuki was a must roll for everybody on an A. Not me, right? Like, I was never telling you guys that, but there were a ton of people that were like trying to say that. Then Musashi got the buff, and all of a sudden, to a lot of people, it was like, oh my god, Summer Ibuki's been dethroned. No. And I'm like, guys, it doesn't mean that the unit's not good just because one unit out damages them. And straight up, like, the biggest thing that Summer Ibuki always had was the charge. But also, to the same degree, like, yeah, I think it's going to be difficult. There are 3 very good SSRs coming up this summer. And most people, unless you're a whale, will not be able to get them all. So it's like, what do you do? I don't know. I have no idea about how to advise you on that. It's just save. That's the best thing that you can do. This is why I'm not using Ticket on Lakshmi and using it on you. One can spook, the other never will. You know, and it's funny because especially the more free to play you are, like, I can say that you could get spooked, but the problem with being more free to play, it just means that you roll less. The less you roll, the less likely you are to get spooked by any individual unit. So it does become a factor of like, can you reasonably expect to ever like see this unit in your Chaldea? If you really truly desire the unit and you have like you really just don't want to have to roll, my advice would be take them from the ticket at that point. When's Annie again? Annie should be like crap, I don't remember the exact day, but it's early July. It's whenever Anime Expo is, and I forget which actual day it was. I think it's like July. Is it the 3rd or is it the 7th? I don't. I'd have to double check. Yeah, it's always the weekend of July 4th, but it does remind me to get Made Alter. Should definitely get Made Alter. You're gonna pick Edison since I don't have him and he's locked. Yep, that's perfectly fair. Like, a lot of people are gonna be picking story locked units just because of how difficult they are to get your hands on sometimes. Ryder. Oh, hello, Huang. It's Huang Fei who? He's General Pool? Yeah. He's new for me, too. I had not been spooked by him yet. You want to come to Anime Expo? Honestly, it's a time issue. Time and money. I have the money to do it, but I don't know that I have the time. And as a result, it's like I would feel really awful, like having to commit a lot of money and then having to possibly like pull out of something like that. The lad that got forgotten. Probably get Assassin U or Lancer Alter. And both those are decent in that regard. But also, like, again, and all I'm trying to say is don't feel like you have to pick a story locked. Well, my quartz is dwindling fast. Let's see. Understandable. Feels like you're neglecting other things. Yeah. Interestingly enough, and I've told you guys this before, it's like I've actually never been to an anime convention. Like I have been to several other things like anime conventions, but I've never been to an actual anime convention. Um, it's kind of sad because like there are conventions in Florida, but usually they're not a big deal, and I usually basically have no one to go with. Like none of my friends are really like into anime, which sucks, but it is what it is. Your summer savings? Yeah, that'd be another way to put it, right? Maritoria Alter will finally be in P5. Nice. You've been to Comic Con? No. Just Discord call VIP while at the convention. Yeah, I could take them with me. That wouldn't be totally weird. Honestly, I guess that's typical content creator stuff, right? Like walk around with a selfie stick and like have your phone on it and just keep showing everything to everybody, even though there's like nobody there actually with you. Will require a flight though. Yeah, that's the other thing. I hate flying. I've done enough flying in my life to never want to have to fly again. Saving hard for a big trip to Japan at the end of the year. I would love to go to Japan. That is definitely on my bucket list of things. Saber. Oh. Hi, Daeon. What is going on? I guess because again, there's no rate up 4-star, so it's just gonna keep spitting out 4 stars. But like, definitely feels weird in that regard, and makes me wonder why they didn't just go. You know what? 4-star Toko, here you go. Right? Like, after seeing people posting videos of parts of a plane falling off mid-flight, I'm not interested about flying. I think a lot of that has to do with like a lot of the like air fleets are aging at this point, and they just need to be overhauled and revamped, and that's a lot of money, and obviously these companies don't want to do it. Take the bus. It'd be a long bus ride. Just don't do helicopters. I don't want to. Coco's too profitable not to be an SSR. When you say that, but again, like it's really interesting because we were talking about how like things never really happen how people expect, and it's like boom, you got 2 5-stars in this. A lot of people are like, holy crap, why is Alice a 5-star? And it is what it is, right? I'm sure to some degree a lot of people probably wanted her to be a 5-star, so it's maybe not that surprising to them, but I think the money would have been on Aoko being the 5-star and the rest being 4 stars. So kind of interesting instead that you just get 2 5-stars. People speak too much about airlines lately, don't have a good time. I don't have any plans to fly anywhere right now, so essential parts are mostly a luxury. I mean, I'd rather not find that out. The song goes well when you get spooked. Oh, 100%. Us as 5-star makes sense lore wise. Lore and money trump all. True. I honestly, I don't even think it's money. I think it's just lore trumps all. At least with regards to how Nasu like dictates it, right? Okay. These rolls are at least like, I don't know. I feel kind of anxious about them right now. Making me choose between Aoko and Alice. Well, that's the whole point. You don't choose. You just get out the wallet. And I'm not advocating for you to do that. But that is 100% what they're trying to make you do. As someone who doesn't have Salter, do you recommend getting her? Or do you have other suggestions? Salter is one of the strongest picks on the 4-star ticket. I think a lot of it's going to boil down to like, do you need other people? Look, I'm not going to say you have to like watch the entire video, but I did put out a like almost 2-hour long video going over everybody on the 4-star ticket. So you can either skip to parts to know like, hey, like this is what I think about this particular unit that you're interested in, or you can skip to the end where I kind of summarized it and said these are probably like my go-to picks. No. I get asked all the time. The answer's no. But yeah, like that would be my advice, is just go to the video and you can see as I like summarize each one of them. Because I, honest to God, I don't have the entire like 68 unit roster in front of me at the moment. I could come up with several off the top of my head, but I'd probably forget a couple, and one of those may be like better one for you. Do we get coins from the ticket? Yes, you do get coins. No love for the skip gang? Nope. So, fun fact, and nobody ever likes to hear this, but the roll is determined when you start the roll. Like, the second you press the roll button, it knows what cards are in there. How many fights happen every day all around the world of all those flights? How many have you heard of about an issue? Yeah, and that's usually the issue, is that like flying is actually like statistically safer than driving a car. Like driving a car is way more lethal. I think it's just one of those things where like anytime something with a plane does happen, it's a big deal because of that. I reject that perfectly logical description. Skip is another superstition, just like having catalysts. No. Catalysts work, I swear. You'll ruin the Gacha Magecraft. Mm-hmm. With the 4-star ticket, would you say it's better to get a new 4-star or NP5 of a servant? It's probably better to get a new 4-star than to go from NP4 to NP5. NP4 to NP5 is a very small increase. You think we'll get another 5-star ticket on JP? It's possible. I think, especially as you guys start heading forward. We got the 20 million downloads campaign, which was the 5-star ticket, and they have said that they want the 30 million, which is the next download campaign, to be better than the 20 million. So I think it is reasonable to guess that there will be a 5-star ticket there. But I'm also going to say don't get your panties in a wad if there's not, because they may make it better in a different way. Like, crap, for all you know, the 30 million download campaign comes out and it like changes the pity system or like fixes coins or something like that. So there are other ways that they could do a thing that would be more hype than even something like that. Technically, skip changes your luck for the next roll because you will roll it before. Yes, but that may work better or worse. So yeah, you're right. It might change your luck. It's just there's no guarantee that it'll be better. Kat, has JP gotten the Start Dash GSSR that NA got last summer yet? I don't believe they have still. I was talking to Trubs about that like a month ago, and I think it's still not a thing. Interestingly enough, though, JP did get the free Fate Stay Night ticket that had, you know, like Saber and you know, several 4-stars like Emmy and Herc on it. So JP has something we don't. We have something JP doesn't. It is what it is. It'll eventually probably change places. And also, thank you for the 100 bits, Farkas. I still appreciate it. Is it possible that the 30 million campaign gives a limited SSR ticket? That's literally what someone was just asking, basically. And I'm like, yes, it's possible. If you're asking specifically about limited, yeah, that's also still possible. Are they waiting till the Fate Stay Night release to get the NA campaign for it? I need NP2 Seba. I don't know. I don't know when that sort of thing will come to NA, right? And I'm gonna say it's not guaranteed to come to NA. I would assume that it will, but I guess there's always the chance that it doesn't for whatever reason. And we'll just have to see, right? Like, but yeah, when it actually does come is anyone's guess. My guess would be that they would hold it for something to like hype up the release of the localization of Fate Stay Night. Because we already know that's a thing. We know it's coming. So that's probably what they're just going to hold on to it for. $30 million downloads. They finally bring back Draco from the vault. Yeah, I've said it's either going to be something like that or Draco comes after the collab here. Because they've already got everybody like going like, ooh, wow, Aoko. They've already got like people going, ooh, wow, Alice. And then again, like we already kind of know the 30 million download campaign should be soonish. So, and I'm going to say this. If the 30 million downloads campaign wasn't already on the horizon, it certainly will be now thanks to this collab. This collab is going to make new people get back into the game. It's going to make more people download the game. It's going to drive those numbers up. So I do think that'll be a thing, and I think you can expect the 30 million download campaign soon. But whether or not it's Draco or whether or not she's after it, I don't know. But my entire anticipation here is that they pull Draco out after you've already, like, they've gotten the majority of the server to basically blow their load. Alice could be the worst character in FGO. People still gonna roll on her. Oh yeah, I believe that. And like, look, the worst SSR in FGO would still be a very usable unit, right? Is there a welfare? Yeah, it's Shizuku Sojiro. Sorry. Yeah, Shizuki? Yeah, I keep getting it wrong. Forgive me, chat. Like I said, I'm not an expert on Mahoyo. There is no even remote possibility Alice is going to be the worst servant in FGO. Yeah. Sono G? Okay. He dies on his NP. That's going to be helpful somehow. Yep. Yeah, he going to be like a new Arash. I keep seeing him confused for Medea's master. Maybe I could see that kind of, but not really. He's definitely different. Like he looks way younger for starters. Am I gonna go over Sojiro's kit tonight? Yes, that is the plan. I'm gonna try to go over both of them. I guess it technically depends on how long these rolls go, but the plan is to go over both of them. And if not, I'll go over him like Monday or something like that. Speaking of which, chat, I have a surprise for you guys tomorrow. We'll just have to wait and see what it is. You're going to talk buffs too if there's time? Yes. The buffs should be relatively easy. It's very simple to talk about each of those. Because none of them really changed damage. Devil Cheese, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. We are coming up on 10,000 follows, chat. It is not the VTuber announcement. I will tell you that. I don't want you guys to get your hopes up needlessly. But who knows? Maybe that'll be a thing in a later surprise. Did you mean 10,100 follows? No, because we're not close to that one. Chat, it's gonna sound sad and pathetic, but I have been sitting at like 9,900 plus followers for like, you don't want to know how long. It's been at least 6 months. Yeah. Thank you guys for the follows. Appreciate it. That's 2 more of you. Cal, thank you for the thank you for continuing the Prime / gift. Appreciate it. Bathtub FGO stream. What? Quick unfollow just to troll. That usually doesn't register right away anyway, so it wouldn't even troll me. And I would advise you not to do that, because we always go through this where someone's like, quick, unfollow him just to troll. And then like a month later, we end up talking about the like, hey man, yeah, I've had some people that have been here for so long, and people start typing in their follow age, and they go like, oh shit, yeah, I totally screwed my follow age because I unfollowed that one time for a meme. You're doing so well, Cad. You'll grow soon. I hope so. That is kind of one of my issues. I've reached relative like saturation, and I think people have either like made up their mind on me that they either care or they don't care, and it just is what it is. I'm someone that's been around a long time, so it's like it's difficult for me to budge without doing something completely different. You'll have Doggo stream? Oh, I wish. Yeah, there's always new people playing it. I think the only weird thing for me is for like every follow I get, I usually get an unfollow, like just over time, because I've been around that long. So it's like there's always these people that like I've known for years, but there are people that follow the channel and then they like decide that they don't care anymore. Yeah, more than 5 years already. Yep. DX Wolf, thank you for the follow. And Hayes, thank you for the 64. Appreciate it. Goddamn. Over them 5 years. He's at the Nintendo number. One of my oldest at this point. You have one of the most detailed videos on FGO. Yeah, like, and I try to always like be as informative as possible and be right with you guys. You will probably never know how much work goes into that at times, like either from me or from other people, like Avalon, like Bob. Like it's straight up a thing, and we always try to like do the best we can for you without like making the video just like needlessly like complex and dragged out. And I'm sure people probably look at my videos and like, it takes them a half hour to get through this stuff, and I'm like, that's true. I also go over things that like nobody else does. So that is one of the big reasons that my videos drag out longer. I'm very thorough with what I cover. Kimba, thank you for the gift. Appreciate it. People don't think about the guys on the basements. You will get her at 601 courts spent. Listen, I just hope I get her. The infographics are always nice. It's obvious they take time to make too. Yep. I think Avalon has that down to a science now. But no, like that is a thing. And it's very difficult. I could like sit down with you guys one day and like describe to you in detail the decisions of why my content is the way that it is. I would love to do more things and do other stuff, but I probably need help. I probably need time. And that's like, both those things are things that like are not easy to acquire. Oh, Twitch falls. Yeah. Sorry for you guys on the YouTube side of things. Saber Musashi got buffed. Well, she did originally back in the day, but not right here. Gold orb. Archer. Hello there, red man. Red man with swords. Hello there, sword. Hello there, purple man with sword. Okay. A very interesting double there. No, I mean, that's a good sign. Seeing Emiya with how many attack buffs that Aoko can get with all those swords on her portrait, like, yeah, this is a good sign. If Emiya is here, we're not far off from Sword Lady. Unlimited attack up works. Yep. Song, just type in exclamation point current song. Do you think we'll ever get Rin by herself as a servant in FGO? No. I think someone like Rin, you will only ever see her as a pseudo purely because of like how Nasu treats his lore. Like, these are servants that you are summoning, so I don't think he's ever going to turn Rin into a pure servant, right? Now, I'm not going to say that you'll never get like something that is literally Rin, but has a pseudo inside of her. That's definitely a thing that could happen. Because, like, to a degree, Ishtar and Erish are that, but they all have, like, each one of those have their own quirks personality wise. So they're not true Rin. Can the pseudo be us? Nice try. Two Artorias simps? Yes. It's another way to look at it. There's that one capsule servant counter guardian Rin. True, but I don't believe we have any of the other capsule servants in the game at the moment. That might be a thing someday, but we'll see. For right now, I'm going to say no. Lore-wise, why are the collab servants okay then? I mean, I'm not going to get into story spoilers or anything like that, but I am going to point out the fact that Aoko is a foreigner. You can do with that what you will. I'm just going to point that out. Karen is mixed with Amor. Yep. Yeah, your collab servants are almost always like some sort of pseudo. But the dude is just a dude? Is he, though? Oh, yes, another mineral. Excellent. I'm interested in seeing who our next pseudo servant will be. Probably Alice. I think we already know, though, that Alice is a caster that has a damaging NP, though. Doko Aoko? I still want a third case file pseudo. Give me Melvin Wines. I see. Use a Shiki art, maybe she'll come. That's just cruel. Alice is a single target? Are we sure that she's a single target? Or did they just only show her hitting one unit? We need Gray Lancer 5 stars? Yeah, but you already have, like, Gray. You already have Gray Assassin 4 stars. Next pseudo servant will clearly be Semiramis possessed by Bob the Builder. You know what? Like, everybody like has a tendency to shit on Semiramis, but I actually thought she was great in the Sea Monster Crisis event. I have yet to recommend a song for stream. Perhaps you should. Simi doesn't deserve the hate. I mean, I don't hate her. I just straight up, like, I was tempted to roll for her when she originally came out, but that kit has not panned out well over time. She needs some attention, and I'm surprised they haven't given it to her. Okay, let's just like totally back out here. Like force it. See if we can't break the seed there. Does Zephyr win if you fail? Yes. Okay, there's Bizette. Which do you think would happen first for her? Buff or Summer Semiramis? It's a good question. Like, and I don't want to get too deep into that, but I suspect a buff would happen first. Too late, you broke the Magecraft? I mean, wasn't your last pity hit Bizette? I definitely hit pity with Bizette, but I don't believe she was the last one. I think I hit pity at one point right after her as well. Because that was the year that I basically went to pity like 3 times. Good luck sacking a lot this year. Oh, I definitely have. Like, the only reason that that this is somewhat apprehensive for me is just because, like I said, it's probably likely that we get like some lucrative banners coming up here. Also, chat, I'm going to make a absolutely not bold prediction. FGO is #1 on the Gacha charts after today. I don't think that's crazy. Am I going to do another guess for the Summer Servants this year? I think I did it after last year's, but I'd have to double check. Super bold prediction, I know. Nikkei 1.5 will likely stop it. Yeah, and then Alice will stop it. Wasn't FGO trending on Twitter? Yeah. We'll see, chat. I don't think it's that bold of a prediction. Did you hit pity with Yamato? No. Because Yamato was in P5. Do you remember to expand your second archive on an ACAD? I believe so, yeah. Nasu's still trending for me? Mm-hmm. Nice multi, bro. Yeah, feels great. You whipping out the wallet if it comes to it. With how deep in we are at this point, let's see. I think I have like one more roll. Well, no, I can still convert the fragments, so I should still have like two, maybe 3 more rolls. Just want to see a foreigner card, man. Hello, Suzuka. Just kidding, Fox. No Aoko yet? Nope. Feels weird, man. And this is just for 1 copy. But I mean, this sort of thing happens, and I've already like talked about it several times before. Like, I think a lot of people think that it's like not a thing, but it's a thing. Yeah, just pretend you know nothing. She likes that, but I do know nothing. Double-sided. This is another saber. We're getting a lot of sabers actually off of this. Ah, hello, Prince of Lanling. Can't reset the entire game. Listen, at this point, I think JP is just being stingy with me for obvious reasons. I think this one is going to be a pity. Cat is the Saber King. I never have a hard time rolling sabers. I don't know why. I never do. Either server. Felt itchy for Gacha, but these rolls do be a good deterrent. Listen, I've already told you guys, feel free to live vicariously through me. This is the benefit of having two like two accounts, right? Like being able to play NA and JP means that I rarely ever feel this like insatiable itch to Gacha. Would you get too lucky the devs have to make you pay? It feels like that at times. Ryder, hello. Martha. That's definitely not an NP5 on my JP. At least I'm getting some higher NP levels at this point. How many SRs? Oh, no idea off the top of my head. You'd have to let Avalon's count be the guide. Martha's close enough. I mean, at least in the sense that she's going to punch a dragon at me, sure. At the very least, she wants coins for the first and second open. Yeah, it's going to be a difficult recommendation where we're going over the unit after this. No counting happening, just vibes. I see. Damn, this session's rough. It happens. Chat, like, so I don't want to like jade anyone or anything like that, but just so you guys all understand, like, please do remember that, like, I'm one of the like OG whales. Like, I've been there at the times where we didn't have pity. I have like gone super deep on banners. My worst ever banner was 4,700 quartz. So like going 900 in, I obviously don't want to like go to that length ever again, but hey, that's a new one. But like, yeah, it's not the end of the world by any means. Okay, so I got to convert the fragments here. Wait, isn't there, you can just press the button, isn't it? Yeah, there you go. Swoop, just enough for two more. Made altar, yeah, made altar was not kind to me. Let's not talk about that during wallet time. Are you going MP5 or just MP1? Just MP1. .9? No, it's still 0.8. Where they changed the rates was basically on like multiple rate ups and stuff. But we, in a long time, thanks to pity, have not really had any change in that regard. I keep seeing the alter ego for Shufu, and it keeps making me go like, wait, that it? And I'm like, no, wait, you're looking for a foreigner. Are you out of free rolls, Cad? I'm getting there. I have this multi and one more. And then it will be wallet decision time. Assassin. Damn it, Woo. At least be a different assassin, no. Chufu confuse you? Chufu confuse you for Woo. Woo number 2, yes. Korean Light took me to pity. That was fun. Yeah. Especially on like one of the big supports, right? Like you don't want to go to pity because you have that like anxiety. You know you're not gonna like pull off. I told you guys the Tamamo was not a good thing. Like it was funny, but it's like, oof. When you see the early SSR spook, it usually means it's gonna be a while. At this point, Cat is looking like Tezuka. Yeah. All the woo all the time. 2.6 flushed on MP1 Castoria. I feel that. that sucks. The woos will continue until morale improves. What do you mean? Every time I get it, the morale gets worse. It's going pretty good, Silver. How's it going? I mean, pretty good, like, mentally, not good gacha. Fake loading. I've already told you guys, like, loading can be something, but it can also, like, be basically nothing. You can get loading even though you have everything in the gacha role, and it could just be a case of, like, the server has a little bit of a lag. Cad's just happy to be here. I am. Like, it's honestly, it's been a while since I've had a longer roll session because to a degree, like, we've been getting lucky, as you guys said, and it's like when you get lucky, rolls go really fast. Like you're done. But one of the cool parts about getting a long roll session like this is I just get to talk with you guys. Loading can happen from a disconnect. Yeah. Is it worth playing starting JP over NA? Some people would tell you, yeah. I'm more of the opinion that, especially if you have any sort of consciousness about money, NA is just the better option by far. Oh my god. Oh no. That C I think is like one copy from MLB. That C is gonna be MLB before my Black Grail is, and that's just gonna piss me off. Oh, nice try. I ain't listening to Donald Duck. At least it wasn't Heaven's Feel. Yeah. I got Black Grill yesterday in JP, but I needed it in the end. Yeah, it's so weird. Like I routinely get Black Grails on my NA account, and I just don't ever get them on JP. And it's like, it's super odd to me that happens. JP's worth it to play if you already play NA. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that hard to like get into, especially if you already have knowledge of the game. But if you're a fresh player, I don't really recommend it. I feel like it'd be a lot harder for you because there's just a bunch of extra hoops. How deep am I right now? Is it 750 or 780? 780. So literally one pack would do this. All right, chat. We're gonna buy the pack. Give me a second here because I gotta load it up. And that's how they get you. Yep, 100%. This is the danger of not saving to pity, right? Oh my god, I gotta wait on them to send me a verification code. Okay. I swear they know. They have the like Japanese iTunes gift card on their like front page being advertised right now. Okay. Okay. Android or Apple? I'm Apple. Just give me a second here, chat. This always takes a minute. Okay, chat. I see the song request. I know what you're doing. Okay, done. Now. Oh, I still have my iPhone 6. Okay. Very nice amount of quartz now. Yeah, I need help building a quick team. The main quick servant I want to use is Jacques Desmoulins. I mean, again, obviously combining her with Scotty can be really nice, or you can also combine her with like Doman or even Van Gogh. All right, to be continued here. Was watching on YouTube, then I remembered here I can hear music. Yes, you can. So again, this will guarantee that I get Aoko, but yeah, this sucks because I had to actually go out and buy a pack for this. I mean, at least kudos to myself. I had managed to save up like already like 700 quartz basically since the last time I rolled. But yeah, this is sort of the issue. So now the real problem is going to be if they pull Draco out, then I'm just screwed. Berserker. I Herc. Actually, I don't think that's MP5 Herc for me either on JP. My JP still has a ton of like the original 4-stars that are like nowhere close to being maxed out. Another Saberface comes out in 2 weeks. Oh, don't do that to me. I mean, to a degree, I guess I would be happy to see another Saberface come out, but like, oof, right? Who's the green-haired girl in that seat? Wasn't it Jack's mom, chat? Somehow I never roll him. It happens. Like, you get some really weird, like, roll seeds sometimes when you roll. Like, so it's how, like, units can entirely evade one person and then be, like, NP, like, 16 with another account. It just, it is a thing, and it do be that way. Ba-dum-ba-dum-ba-dum. You might get double Aoko or even triple. I mean, double would at least make like going to pity worth, right? Electri gets a second swimsuit. God, I wish. I won't even be angry about having to spend money on that. Hooker ended up giving me 3 times Luvia's when she wasn't even on rate up. Yeah, it happens. As in the Lolly Jack the Ripper? Yeah. Multi at Wang got double Wang. Nice. Pretender. Yo, let's go. That's actually a good 4-star. I will take that. I think that makes her either NP. Yeah, I think it's NP3 for her on my JP. I found you, Faker. Yeah, I was like, oh, this is finally the card. And I was like, wait, no, that's the pretender card. Man getting every SR or what? It feels that way. But like I said, this is there's no rate up SR. So you're just it's like a absolute potluck for like who I can get. Number 3 is a big barrier to, for her. Not really. It's just like getting more MP levels is obviously really nice in someone like Faker because she's a 100% charge unit. So you definitely know you're going to be able to use her. And it's just, to me, the area that she does lack in is actual damage. So getting the higher MP levels just helps out with that. Pretending to be a foreigner. And call me master of 4 stars. They just keep appearing. Is Edmond Dante still good? Yeah, absolutely. He's like, is this gonna be it? No, okay. I don't. The sparking looked really weird there for a second. Dante's still fantastic, even as a quick looper, because like he's gotten quality of life basically that allows him to just have an easier time handling nodes. But he always had good refund anyways, even for a quick unit. So in that regard, no, he's still great, and his damage is solid. How to get the Honey Lake Sea on NA? It's a lot harder now because we like Honey Lake came from the Gacha in Summer 5, so that event has already run and had its rerun. So you usually have to look for certain summer banners that might have it on it, and they're usually like for past summer units, particularly units from Summer 5. But otherwise, there's like no easy way to get it. Going to pity sucks. It does, but it is what it is. Is there a bad AoE Avenger? Probably depends on who you talk to. I think some people would call Gorgon bad. I wouldn't. I don't think Gorgon's the best unit by any means, but I feel like especially just the fact that they gave her charge means that you can 3-turn her when you need to. And she's got some interesting aspects to her kit. She's just suboptimal. Yeah, I mean, well, it's like the discussion we were having about Edison the other day. Edison has a wonky kit. Edison's gotten a lot of upgrades over the years. Edison's damage is not that good, but that doesn't mean that he's a bad unit. It doesn't mean you can't use him effectively. Like, if you put a unit in a like good composition in order to allow them to succeed, they can be used very effectively. So it's like, in the same time, it's like, yes, I didn't necessarily recommend him for the 4-star ticket, but he is a story locked unit, so he is going to be a unit that people choose regardless. And I don't think he's bad by any means. It's my concept with Edison is only that, like, with regards to him, there's probably another unit that you could take that's better than him in most situations, but not all situations. So. Silent Butcher, thank you for the prime. Appreciate it. I hope you're doing well tonight. If you're using Edison for damage, you're doing it wrong. Use it for his effect, yeah. Dante's is my first 5-star, and he's a good one. Suddenly, he's one of my favorites thanks to the synergizing with the mouse. Yeah. Yeah, that's got to be fun. At least you get the like double NP charge effects. Cat, do you think we get another Poster Girl banner? Oh, I'm sure it'll happen eventually. Is it worth going out of your way to MLB Honey Lake? You get most of the general usefulness out of just a single copy. MLBing it gets you that, hey, like all that extra attack power and 5% more on the power mod. So, like, it can be worth, but I think it's more like that's a consideration for whales. If you're a more free-to-play player, then probably not. Avenger? Hi Hessian Lobo. Dude, we running the gauntlet here at this point. We're going to get somebody of every class. Like, goddamn. This is going to be another around the world. Oof, actually pity. Yep. What class are we missing currently? Out of the 4 stars you could roll? I don't know, actually. I'd have to double check. You deserve the rainbow now? It happens. This, and by the way, chat, this is not even close to my first time going to pity. This is something like my 6th time going to pity or something like that. So it is what it is. Pity rainbows don't taste the same. I do agree with that. One of those days, it feels like it. Now, do remember, chat, I did do the paid La Single at the very beginning, so it will not be the final spin. It'll be the spin before the final spin. Remember that unit literally got 1 before pity? Yeah, that's, and I still can't believe that. So the 10th card is hard pity? Yes. Looks like Lancer and Ruler are remaining. Oh, true. Yeah, I would have to get spooked by pretty much by Estrella at that point. Oh, look, chat. Oh my god! I didn't even get rainbow. That's sad. Not even the rainbow. The game's just like, fine, take it. Here you go. Yeah, it's, I really do see a lot of Shisho there. It's really kind of funny to me. So we get away with 49 courts at the end of that pack, but it is what it is, and that was pity. So chat, it happens. And this is like I said, let this at least like be a shining example for those of you guys that have never seen a pity hit, or for those of you guys that, like, you know, just needed to scratch the itch. It can happen. It can happen to you at any time. This is why I always tell you guys, try to save up to pity. I'm somebody that like can and will pull out like the credit card if I have to, but most of you either don't want to or don't have that as an option. So that is, again, why I always advocate for saving. It never feels good to go to pity, but the one good thing we can say about pity is at least you get the unit, right? Like, at least you have it. As opposed to in the past, there was no guarantee you were ever going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So it's there now, yeah. And that's why I say to you guys, it's like, it's why I'm such an advocate for saving. It's why I'm always telling you guys, plan out your roles, try to make sure you have some idea, because this is the reality on JP. You never really know what's around the corner, so it makes it very difficult to do any amount of planning. You can kind of guesstimate, but that's about it. And NA, you guys have that luxury of that 2-year like lead up. So this is why I always tell you guys, like, save. You know when stuff is coming. Save. But yep, that's gonna be it for the rolls for now. Now, chat, we will be going over Aoko's kit here, and as well as Sonoji. But we've also got some other stuff to talk about. Time for NP2, right? No. No. A center? No, I'll probably save that because I already delayed you guys enough going over the kits, and I've got a lot that I have to talk to you guys about tonight. It's probably best if I actually start out with some of the easy stuff here. So let's go ahead and show some of it off. 99% of gamblers quit before they hit NP2. Sure, I get that, right? So anyways, we did get 2 strengthenings. We basically, I can quickly go over those, although I think the links here are broken, so give me a second, chat. There's Calamity Jane. I think Fujino's actually goes through. Yep, there you go. And then we also have a new Mystic code, which should be in here. I haven't double checked to see if it is. It might not be. Holy crap. Have they not put it in yet? They haven't. Let me go grab that from Atlas Academy then. Okay. Got that. Definitely looks nice, right? But yeah, so this is you guys' new Mystic code. I'm not the hugest fan of it, but that has a lot to do with the majority of the time when I go after a Mystic code, I'm wanting at least a good amount of damage. And the damage here is not bad, because part of it is that it increases the Buster and Arts card performance of all allies. So it's all allies 1 turn, and that's where it's like, okay, so this is at least party-wide. It's affecting everybody for 1 turn. And it's multiple card types. So it's got, in all honesty, it's at least got like that double coverage if you had a mixed composition. That something like a similar type of Mystic code that only had like Buster up or Arts up wouldn't necessarily have. So it can at least benefit multiple units potentially, rather than maybe just like, oh, you must all be the same card type. The second skill here increases the star concentration of a single ally and is a star bomb. Again, it's on relatively long cooldown, but that's to be expected. And honestly, I think the crit star bomb here of 15 is okay. I think my biggest issue is that it only increases the star absorption by 1,000. This is certainly nice for people, but there are certain classes like Berserker or Avenger where even if you put that on them, it might not actually just guarantee that they get the stars still. So I do think this is actually relatively weak. I'm really surprised by this. And especially when I look back at like the Summer 3 Mystic code that has like, I think it's like 10,000 star absorption on it for arts cards. This just feels really weird to me that they only did this for 1,000. So like I said, this particular aspect of it, it's nice, but it still feels a little underwhelming. And then the gut skill here is grants gut status to a single ally 1 time 1 turn and increases their NP. So in that regard, you can compare it to something like Annie Blonde. Annie Blonde, I believe, does, as we were talking about this before stream, does have more HP value on it. This thing's only going to resurrect you at 2k, which is not a lot. But hey, it is a thing still. We don't have necessarily nearly as many options for for Mystic codes that give guts. So the fact that we now have a sort of companion to Annie Blonde in this regard just offers more options. And in that regard, if you maybe were needing like guts up on an arts unit desperately, this at least has the arts of 20% on the front end of the Mystic code plus this. So this would be another way of getting it, even if it wasn't something that was necessarily like Annie Blonde's Buster. But still, you do also end up with the charge here as well, and that's going to be obviously welcome. It's going to be a really nice thing for a lot of people. But like I said, all in all, I don't think the Mystic code's bad, but I don't think it's that great either. It's not very standoutish to me other than the guts, and that is kind of the big deal that I would make here. Frozen Fire Neko, thank you for the 4 months. And also, I didn't say it, but Anime, thank you for the follow, and Terry, thank you for the follow. Okay, so that's the new Mystic code. Again, it is what it is. I think at this point you can expect that they're going to keep releasing Mystic codes. They're going to have to keep mixing and matching them over time, and we already kind of have a lot of them. There's some cool and interesting ideas for Mystic codes that I think are still out there, but whether or not the devs want to touch them yet probably remains to be seen. So I could easily see as they would maybe like hold off on some of this. Actually, let me close some of these here. All right, and then we had the two upgrades. Actually, I'll go ahead and start with Fujino's because hers is really simple and straightforward. So Fujino, as you guys know, definitely been a unit that's dealt pretty decent damage. She's actually been a pretty good challenge unit, and they actually came in and gave her the NP interlude over time that allowed her to basically have that extra super large niche here. And honestly, I feel like at that point she really kind of had her place in the like meta in that regard, and like this is when you use Fujino. But obviously I kind of get it because at this point in time, like just about every unit in the game has charge. And so they came back here and they actually ended up buffing her second skill that was just basically the sure hit and crit star bomb. And they basically just gave it 30% charge at that point. And it's also on a 5-turn cooldown. So this is really nice in the sense that you're going to be able to like double tap this. This is going to allow her to work in a double coin Skya setup. It's going to allow her to be able to 3-turn. It's going to be allow her to be able to do it with a 50% C. And so that's going to make her a lot more usable on a regular basis. It's not going to relegate her just to like challenge content and stuff like that, or force you to have to use the K-scope in order to like fire something off quickly. So in that regard, I think this really does help her. I think this is a solid buff. And because of the 5-turn cooldown, you can definitely basically like quick charge, so you could do it on turn 1 and turn 2 rather than having to do it like all the way on turn 3 or something like that. And that may allow you to like weave in like maybe Oberon's 20% charge or something like that sooner. So that would allow maybe some more front-loaded damage somewhat. And so again, I think this is a great buff for her. I have nothing but good things to say about it. And I do think, at least with regards to her, that this was a welcome one and something that like kind of was, I'm not going to say overdue, but at least like something she did really need. All right, next up here we have Calamity Jane, and she actually ends up getting a buff to her first skill. It basically, if you guys remember, was a very lackluster skill here. It reduced all enemies' attack by 10% for 3 turns, and their critical attack chance by 3 turns. And again, the crit chance was a weird 19%, so it is what it is. And they come back in and they go, you know what? Hey, yeah, this skill just needs to be better. And I think the big thing to say about Calamity Jane more than anything is that her major gimmick to be used is this third skill. And the way the third skill works is it gives basically buff success chance to allies, but then depending on the amount of stars that you have, it will award you other different effects that are really nice, including, as you guys can see, crit damage, star absorption, dodge basically of 1 turn, and then invuln, pierce, and even charge, up to 20% charge if you have the skill Lord. So this kind of to me was the big reason you wanted to use Calamity Jane a lot of the time, either as like just somebody that could maybe buff herself and give herself some nice unique benefits, or as somebody that could give buff success chance to the rest of the party. But the issue at play there was always having enough stars for her to do it. So the devs come back in and they say, hey, let's take this lackluster skill. Let's now make it also reduce their defense for 3 turns by 20%. This kind of gives her a steroid that she really kind of lacked in her kit prior to this point. And again, it's multi-turn, so it's going to be really good for challenge options, but it could also allow her to be used a little bit outside of that. It's going to then reduce their critical attack chance for 3 turns by 30%. So instead of a wonky 19%, it now has a nice even round number, and they bumped it up a bunch. It's going to make it a lot harder for enemies to crit her, just because the way enemy crit chances work is it works in whole round numbers. So having 30% actually will just straight up prevent a lot of enemies from being able to crit you. And then from here, they give her a sort of like gacha mechanic, if you will. They heard you like gacha, so they put gacha in your gacha. And so you get 10 crit stars guaranteed. And then from there, each one of these, it's 4 different iterations of 10 crit stars with a 30% chance to proc. So obviously, you could land the jackpot and get 50 stars from popping this skill. But the reality is, instead, you're probably only going to get 1 or 2 of them on average. But that would still mean that it's a like 20 or 30 crit star bomb. That's a lot, and that's going to be enough to at least get you basically pretty high in this. This would get you to the evasion and stuff like that. So that's going to make sort of survivability and that like utility that she brings to the table a much more consistent thing. And so again, I think this is kind of a perfect buff for her. We could obviously say like, hey, I wish this wasn't RNG, but it would probably be just really strong to give her a 50-star bomb skill, especially because she's not someone like Mozart, where that's kind of his entire gimmick. So at the end of the day, yeah, I think this is a great one. It actually addressed one of the issues that I had with using her, which was just like, okay, yeah, she's kind of got this nice skill, but I just, I don't really have the stars when I actually want to use it. So that makes this a lot more usable on command. And again, I think it's an adequate buff to really help her out. Quick chains produce more stars than before. Yep. So I think it's very reasonable to get that like 20 or 30 stars. And then maybe you're just rolling into the turn with anywhere from like 10 to 20 stars of your own. So again, even reaching something like the 50 for the charge right there can be a thing. Or you might be able to combine her with another unit that just has a star bomb to sort of secure the charge. And that could be really, really nice in terms of just making this a consistent thing that can be hit. Love my star bomb C's, exactly. So yeah, like I said, I do really feel like this really did help Jane out. So again, both the buffs there, not really expected, but very welcome to say the least. And that was the two of them. So now, chat, let's go ahead and start out with Aoko, because I want to make sure that we get to her tonight. Sojiro is his own thing, so. But yeah, this is definitely going to be an interesting one. Yeah, okay. This one I have to set up for, chat, so forgive me. Get comfy? Yeah, this is... Have you guys ever seen the presentation of a college thesis? Oh, whoops. I don't know why it... Thank you. Okay. Trying to think if there's any other C's that really call to me with her, because she already brings in Vuln Pierce to the table. K-Scope? Yeah, actually, I think that's worthy of a mention right here. I can't type in K-Scope. If I type in the abbreviation, it's not going to be a thing. They really actually should have like nicknames for popular CEs like that. Honestly, talking hot sands for the Buster card. Let me take a look at it. That's what crit damage and star absorption. Yeah, and this one's definitely nice. The only issue with Taka Hot Sands is actually getting your hands on it. It's one of those like super rare ones as well. Hold on, I'm thinking, chat. Well, there's a very obvious one I can think of. God, what the hell is that C? Yeah. What the hell is that C? Some of these C's are just getting power crept as all hell with the amount of effects. I don't think I'm going to recommend this one, but only because it splits stats. I don't think this one is all tech either. Not. That's a nice one. Yep. Mm. The collab C. This one was welfare, wasn't it? Yes. One's also nice. We'll actually be getting this one this year. And then I think that will be my, like, if I'm gonna recommend one that's not all attack, that's gonna be what it is. And then there's one other that I have to do. I'm sorry, Chad. It just kind of like goes without saying, right? Like, okay, let me try to organize these to some degree. Okay. Um, Fino, yes. The ghost of Fino's past. Um, okay. The error is still there. I love the way that you displayed that one. Okay, I see what you did. She's different. I know. I know. This one's gonna be a weird one. Okay. All right, chat. I'm ready if you're ready. Is chat ready? Okay. Hey guys, my name's Khadroth, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Aoko Aozaki, our newest welfare. Or sorry. Okay, hold on. I meant to say collab, and I said welfare. Okay, let's restart. I gotta have that good opening, chat. Hey guys, my name's Khadroth, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Aoko Aozaki, our newest collab unit that's a 5-star. She's going to be coming to us with the Mahoyo collab event here, and obviously she's going to be a limited unit. Now, Aoko is a unit that's been getting looked forward to in various degrees for years and years and years. People have often theorized about when she would come to the game, so when they actually announced the collab, obviously everybody was ecstatic. But then when we actually ended up getting the news on the unit, man, does she have a very interesting and, I'm just going to say, verbose kit, to say the least. Aoko is going to be one of the game's units that actually ends up sort of transforming with her NP, similar, if you will, to units like, say, Barcast Summer, or again, Melisson. But at the end of the day, probably the closest analogy that we can actually make to her, and it's one that is probably not comfortable for a lot of people, is to say that she's actually closest to Jekyll and Hyde. So we're going to talk a lot about her kit and why I think it can be good here, but needless to say, I do have at least some concerns with this unit. She is definitely going to be a unit that I think a lot of people are going to want to at least check out and have interest in. She's not a gotta roll by any means, but she is going to be a unit that I think warrants your attention. So let's go ahead and talk about why that is as we go through the kit. So for starters, Aoko is going to be a 5-star foreigner. She is technically a support NP, but also technically AoE arts. And that's what I meant when I said that she actually goes through a transformation. You see, just like with Jekyll and Hyde, she's going to start out in her initial form with one set of skills. However, as you work up to her NP and actually pop her NP, this is going to transform her into her super Aoko form. This is going to actually give her an offensive NP and change the nature of her skills. In fact, it doesn't just stop there. It's also going to change her stats. So this is an important thing to actually denote as we go through what those stats actually are. So just so that you guys are aware, again, there is normal Aoko and super Aoko, and the super Aoko form will only happen after her first NP. So as we're looking at this, like I said, she is a foreigner. She basically, in her normal iteration, has 11.3k attack. This is actually very low for a 5-star, so it's something to at least be concerned with, but it's not the end of the world, as usually offense is the easiest thing to generate in this game. She does at least end up getting 14k HP to kind of help offset that. It's not the craziest either, but it is certainly a decent amount. And again, at the end of the day, this is kind of to be expected given what the super form does to her. So as you can see here, looking at this, if you transform her, her attack stat actually ends up going up. It goes all the way up to 12.5k attack, almost 12.6. This is certainly a much more robust number and a lot better for her. This is going to make her, at minimum, at least card hard, if nothing else. And as we look at her HP stat, it in conjunction also went down. So again, the super form is going to basically trade HP for attack, as you're going to basically make her a little bit more of a glass cannon. Now, the interesting thing here is, again, you can see even her attributes actually change. In her default form, she is going to be man attribute, but in her super form, she's going to be star attribute. I'm going to tell you that you don't really have to memorize all of this. It's just a helpful thing to know as we go through this. Now you can see here as well in her normal form, her star absorption is actually above the foreigner average at 153 and below the foreigner average in her super form at 147. Her star generation sits right on the average at basically her normal form, and then actually goes higher than her average, or than the foreigner average there in her super form. Her NP charge attack is only 0.55 in her normal form, but it actually gets worse in her super form. And there is a reason for that, and we'll talk about that as we get to the kits. Obviously, right here, you guys can see she does have just a normal NP charge defense of 3%. The devs didn't want to mess with that one, and I'm happy that they didn't. You can see, interestingly enough, in her normal form as well, she also has a 9% death rate. This is actually not high, so this is a good thing, but it gets even lower in her super form, so she might be a decent effective counter against certain really death-prone fights where there's a lot of death procs flying around. Her alignment is lawful good, and thankfully as well, that doesn't change between the ascensions, or sorry, between the forms there. She is female gendered. Her basic traits here are existence outside the domain, because again, she's a foreigner. She has hominidae servant, humanoid, living human, and just normal servant. Her default form is weak to Enema Elish, but her super form nullifies it and means that she doesn't take extra damage from it. So she would at least be also an effective counter to someone like Gil. It's definitely an interesting thing. A lot of this could also be potentially tied into the fact she actually does have the star attribute. Not every star attribute enemy, or not every star attribute unit has Enema Elish nullification, but a lot of the Enema Elish nullification units are star attribute. So it is, to say the least, at least a beneficial thing for her to have. Now, next up here, you guys can see, this is where it gets interesting. The default version of Aoko basically ends up having double buster cards and then double arts. The Super Aoko version ends up having triple arts and a single buster. Now, honestly, this is a big reason why we actually have the reduction of the NP charge attack rates. The normal form has a higher NP charge attack because it only has 2 arts cards, whereas the super form has a much lower one because it actually manages to get the triple arts deck. This is actually quite interesting because as we start to look at the kit down below here, you're going to notice that there is a skill that actually transforms buster cards into AoE attacks. This is technically going to be the first time that we've actually gotten a unit in the game that has AoE attacks. There have been some other wonky things like fights where maybe you were able to like card something and then it triggered a like sort of third party to like come in and deal AoE damage in the after effect. And there was even a unit that I shall remain nameless at this point just for purely like spoiler reasons that we got to use as an NPC that also had AoE attacks. But at the end of the day, this is the first unit that we've actually had in the game that you can summon that has them. And so that's going to make Aoko a very interesting and defining character. It's why I said at minimum, each and every one of you should probably check her out. You don't have to roll her, but definitely you should at least pay attention to what her kit is like, because this is probably going to be somewhat of a formula for future units like her. That is to say, not every unit is going to become an AoE monster with their normal attacks, but Aoko will certainly sort of kind of like pave the way for any other unit that may have a similar type of effect down the line. So again, determining how to use this sort of thing or how you feel about characters that can do this is going to help you determine whether or not you want to roll. But again, the interesting thing that I find here is that as we look at this, basically, if we know that the Super Aoko form gets AoE buster attacks and actually also AoE extra card attacks, then it's really interesting to see that they gave the Super Aoko form one less buster card. Also, since you need the NP to transform, it's very interesting that they gave the normal Aoko form and less of an arts card in order to help her get to an NP. So to me, these decks are actually backwards from what you would want them to be, but it's also the devs' way of sort of tempering her a little bit and making her not too insane. Still, again, having triple arts is a very good, solid deck. It's going to allow you to form arch chains with maybe potential supports, or again, just allow Aoko, you know, that sort of extra capability to potentially get more charge, get back to yet another NP, and again, just fire everything off yet one more time. But certainly it is an interesting thing, and I will kind of come back to the deck here when we start talking about the extra attack a little bit more. But either way, it's definitely an interesting thing to denote. The one thing I do want to make is, at least as of the recording of this video, please be aware that fandom is actually incorrect on this. The hit counts between the two decks are the exact same. They did get the effect of AoE being correct here, but the extra attack in her super form is a 5 hit, not a 6 hit. This is the one mistake that I have noticed, so just be aware that it's a thing. It's no like insult to fandom or anything like that. Mistakes happen, so it's perfectly okay, but it is something that I noticed, just so you guys are aware. And that performance of that extra card is going to matter. So let's go ahead and talk about the deck. Or the kit here. As again, we already denoted that skills are going to have different effects depending on what form you're in, and that's going to require me to talk a lot about this. So basically, her first skill here is Magic Bullet Charging. This is going to grant her a unique buff called Magic Bullet. As you can see, she actually, well, sorry, unique is not the right term for it, because you can get multiple of them. And so you can see you have 3 Magic Bullet buffs that this skill will grant you. What Magic Bullet does is it increases your own attack by 50% for one time by consuming one earliest Magic Bullet buff when normal attacking with a quick arts or buster card. You understood that, right? So to make this simple for you, you have 3 Magic Bullet buffs. Anytime you normal attack, it's going to give that attack a 50% attack up specifically for that attack. It will then consume the Magic Bullet buff, and this will happen for each one of your cards that you use. Again, this will affect everything except the NP, though the NP has its own use for Magic Bullet, so we'll get into that in a minute. But the whole point is, it's just a simple, like, 50% steroid for each of the attacks that you have. So this is just a way of making her card harder. And it's something that's going to be a common theme for Aoko, is you're going to really want her to card well because of that unique nature of her deck and basically her kit. So you can see, again, it's going to consume them. Each time you use them, you're going to lose the stack, and you can have a maximum of 20 stacks at any given time. This is going to be a thing. She's going to have a very convoluted passive that we're going to talk about here in a bit, where she actually does gain 2 Magic Bullet buffs each turn, but it does require her to be in her super form, so just keep that in mind, as it's going to get kind of weird. But obviously, after all of that as well, you're going to gain critical stars of 20, or at least up to 20. The interesting thing about this is, this skill is on a 2-turn cooldown, which is nice. So regardless, you can keep getting this skill back over and over and over again if you keep her in her normal form. I'm not going to say that you really want to keep her in her normal form, but we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get towards the NP. Now, we have the second skill here. The second skill is going to basically have an interesting effect, to say the least. It's going to grant her a regeneration buff for 3 turns. So it's a clock buff that will be put on her. This is interesting because it does mean that if Aoko dies, you're going to lose that buff. So it will not take effect even though it's a party-wide thing, so just be careful with that one particular aspect. But essentially, it's going to grant her a regen buff for 3 turns. For basically those 3 turns, she will charge the party's NP gauge every turn up to 20%. She's also going to gain critical stars every turn for 3 turns, up to 10. So it's a really, really nice skill. All of this on a 7-turn cooldown. The only problem is this line right here, that if you transform her into Super Aoko with the NP, you lose all the effects of this regeneration buff. It just goes kaput. So that's another issue you're going to have to pay attention to. This means that this skill is going to be really good at helping Aoko herself get to her NP the first time, or helping the party just kind of get there. Utilizing her in her normal form will mean that she is going to be way less offensive, but at least a little bit more party-oriented and supportive. And you'll see that as we get to the third skill here. as this one's basically going to be a targeted kind of super buff, if you will. It is essentially a tricolor buff here that's going to give you quick arts and buster performance for 3 turns, 30% each. It's going to also increase that ally's critical damage for 3 turns, and then grant the ally HP regeneration buff for 3 turns. Again, 30% critical damage there, and up to 2000 HP regen each turn. So really a nice targeted effect, as all of these things impact that one target. However, it can also grant the ally protagonist correction buff for 3 turns. What this basically does is it is an immunity for any demerit effect that the owner might get from active skills in Noble Phantasm. You can see it does include this little blurb here at the end. This was not a thing that was actually in the coding. This is something that fandom added to help you guys out so that you don't have as many questions about it. The easy way to remember this is that this is immunity from demerits. Things that are not demerits. Death procs, Oberon's third skill, or anything like that, because Oberon's third skill is actually considered a buff, even the negative effects of it. Also, any sort of drain. Drains are not considered to be a demerit. They are just their own unique interaction, and therefore Oberon's time drain probably not going to be a thing for you. And again, same thing, if you have an effect that's just straight up being used against you, it's not going to prevent that. Also, interestingly enough, if you have a demerit like, say, Kiyohime Lancer, where when you use the skill, it has the demerit of charging an enemy, that demerit is happening to a different entity other than yourself, so the immunity will not apply. It will not change that. And even still, that is a charge one, so it still wouldn't apply regardless. But if there's a demerit that gives an enemy a buff or something like that, it is not going to prevent it at all. So just keep that in mind, that this is only going to work on demerits on yourself. It's not going to stop you from killing yourself. It's not going to stop you from bricking yourself with Oberon. And it is not going to stop you from draining yourself negatively in some way, shape, or form. Just keep that in mind. But it's still a really good effect. It's still going to prevent a lot of negative things like defense downs, or again, skill sealing yourself or something like that. So it is still a really interesting sort of tool that you can use with some obviously beneficial applications. I'll let you guys explore that over time, as again, I'm sure people are going to come out with some really, really interesting ways to use this skill. But still, very interesting thing, and also on a 7-turn cooldown. Now, that was all of Aoko's default kit. Now let's go through Super Aoko, and I'm going to try to talk with you guys a little bit about the differences. So this is after you've used Aoko's NP the first time. She is now going to be in Super Aoko form. And at that point, she's actually going to kind of get sort of a better effect on most of her skills. Not all of them, though. So as you can see here, the first skill is now instead going to grant 6 magic bullet buffs instead of 3. It's still going to have the same effect of basically, hey, it increases it by that much. And again, the other interesting thing here, and I actually didn't talk about this, but it was an effect on the first half, is the fact that it increases, there's an interesting interaction with the extra card. Essentially, this also allows the extra card, whenever it is used, to basically consume all remaining magic bullet buffs. What that means is you can only use a magic bullet buff on each attack normally once. However, with the extra card, it is an extra interaction, and that means that it's going to take any remaining magic bullet buffs that you had on you if you get your extra attack. It's going to consume them, and it's going to convert them to 50% times N, basically, for each amount that you have. So if you had like 6 buffs, that would be 6 times 50 for a total of 300% extra attack up. That's really strong. It's going to be really, really good. And you can actually see, as you have a ton of these magic bullet buffs, that you're just going to have a ton of the attack buffs going across your bar. The interesting thing about this is there is a theoretical buff limitation in the game. A lot of people don't know about this, or a lot of people apply it wrong. That number can be around 500 to 600 depending on the buff, and it's not normally reachable for most units in the game. We've actually already gone ahead and done the legwork and tested this, and I'm not exactly sure how it works at this current moment in time, but basically this actual magic bullet interaction with the extra card attack does not hit that limit, at least not from the magic bullets themselves. Remember, you can have a maximum of 20 stacks. So in theory, because in order to get the extra attack, you would have to pre-card 3 times at some point. So basically, the theoretical maximum amount of true stacks you could have for an extra attack would actually be 17. But it's an interesting thing to denote that even at 17 stacks, that would be a crazy amount of percentage, well over the normal like 500 or 600 amount there. And it actually still adequately scales and does not cap out. So this may have to do with the unique interaction of extra attacks doing AoE damage, or it may just be a case of just not really like having a unique interaction or it's scaling in some way, shape, or form differently. Regardless, I just wanted to inform you that no, this one actually doesn't cap out per our own testing. We have gone actually out and tested this one already. So, interestingly enough, that is still going to make the extra attack do a ton of damage. And as we already denoted, in the super form, that's going to be an AoE attack. So that's going to be a really, really strong, almost like noble phantasm-like attack in a lot of scenarios. So that's still going to require a lot of prep work, a lot of sort of gaming to get the magic bullet buffs to stack that high. It's going to take multiple turns, but it's still a really, really strong potential capability that she has in her kit. As you can see here too, this will also now make this skill grant self-invincibility for 1 turn. We're going to come back to this in a minute. And it's also going to now increase her arts performance for 3 turns by up to 30%. So again, compared to the original default form, basically the default form had 3 stacks of magic bullets, still had the interaction with the extra attack, but it didn't really have anything other than a star bomb. This one instead gives 6 magic bullets and is going to give you invuln and arts up. So we can kind of just honestly say this is just a better form of the first one. The only downside is this skill is on a 4-turn cooldown instead of a 2-turn cooldown. We'll talk more about the cooldowns in a bit. So as we get to the second skill here, now you can see this second skill in the super form is going to charge her own NP gauge by up to 100%. This is definitely strong if you think about it. This is just going to allow her to immediately get right back to another NP. The downside here is that it has a 7-turn cooldown, so it's going to take you a long time to get back to this skill naturally. Obviously, potentially running her alongside someone like, say, Tamamo or again Edison may be really good, as they might be an art-centric buffer that can help reduce the cooldowns and really help Aoko flourish. So that is an interesting thing to denote if you're trying to kind of go the distance with her more than just a 3-turn, maybe in a challenge or boss fighting scenario, but it's still something to at least pay attention to. This is basically where the crit star bomb transfers to instead of off of the first skill. So, but now it is up to 40 stars. So it is a much more significant star bomb. You definitely want to use this on a turn where you're maybe going to blow your load with the magic bullets or something like that. Or again, maybe just a turn that you really want to like back end an NP with maybe like arts cards to help her get back to another NP naturally. Either way, still a really, really nice thing to have here and at least somewhat synergistic. The third skill here now, though, if you remember, basically was that really nice targeted buff skill that was kind of a support skill for Aoko. This one now is going to instead only be able to be used when the NP gauge is 100 or higher. So essentially, if you guys remember Saber Liz, it's a similar type of mechanic to Saber Liz's third skill. Not as bad, though. So from here, it's going to consume that 100% gauge. So you can only use it when your gauge is full, and it will consume 100%. What does this mean? It means literally a 100% increment. So if you had 200% gauge, it would still only drain you 100%, and you would still be able to NP. But again, just keep that in mind that this is a hefty cost here. What this is going to do is it's going to increase her own buster performance for 5 turns by up to 50%. It's also going to increase her own extra attack performance for 5 turns by up to 100%. This is pretty terrifyingly powerful because, as we already denoted, obviously the extra attack is going to be, well, extra. It's going to end up hitting multiple enemies as it is now an AoE attack. But if you consider the fact that pins are a thing, well, yeah, this is just going to have the potential of getting even stronger even from here. So really, really a nice one there. And then it's going to charge the party's NP gauge except for Aoko. So everybody here in the party is going to get 50% charge. So basically, she must be at 100% in order to use the skill. She's going to drain herself 100% after the fact of using it, but it's going to raise everybody else in the party by 50%. So there's technically no NP gauge lost. It's just being transferred to other people is the way to think about it. And it's also going to reduce the entire party's skill cooldowns by 2, except for herself. This would actually be really nice if this applied to her, because it would take this 8-turn cooldown of this skill and lower it basically to 6. It would take the 7-turn cooldown of the second skill there and lower that to 5. But it is what it is. I think the devs kind of knew that this kit was already pretty strong to begin with. It's also going to recover the party's HP by, again, up to 5,000. So this is a very sizable support skill. Basically, no matter what form you're in, this third skill has supportive aspects, and it just kind of depends on how you want to look at it. Still, though, this one is definitely going to be good for her, if for no other reason than the really nice Buster Steroid and super good extra steroid that she has on here. So now we get to talk about the passives. So to start out with, she has existence outside the domain. E, this is just going to kind of be your standard par for the course, but maybe a little bit worse than normal foreigner trait. She's got 2 crit stars every turn and debuff resistance. She does get territory creation E. This is also fairly lackluster, but it's at least 2% extra arts performance. It's going to affect her cards, her NP, everything. So it's really, really nice, as well as NP gain. She gets item construction E for debuff success rate by 2%. And then she ends up with Magician C. And this is where things get wordy, to say the least. So Magician C here basically is a unique passive for her. It's going to increase her own debuff resistance by 20%. It's going to increase her own instant kill resistance by 20%. This is going to make her even harder to kill than, the already low stated amounts that we set. Going to increase her own buff removal resistance by 20%. But it's also going to convert any invincibility status that she has on her to solemn defense, anti-purge defense. This is the Castoria buff that you get whenever you use her NP. So very, very nice. And unlike Castoria's buff, where it might be 1 time 1 turn or something like that, or 1 time 3 turns, basically, you can convert something in a similar way like with Kukulkan, where it might be a 1-turn duration, and you can convert that into solemn defense. The reason this is interesting is because she does, if you remember in her super form, have an actual 1-turn invincibility on herself. But the interesting thing to denote is the invincibility source does not have to be from Aoko. It just merely needs to be placed on Aoko, and it will immediately be converted to anti-purge defense. So again, it's a very similar sort of trait to the way Kukulkan's works, and it is very powerful. I'm not really sure what the whole lore reason is for this, but I don't really want to get into spoilers. Regardless, yes, this is a very strong passive right here, just for this alone. Basically, though, when she becomes Super Aoko, this ends up transforming and gaining extra effects. So again, she ends up getting self-buff regeneration here. This means that in Super Aoko form, not her normal form, but in Super Aoko form, she's going to get 2 magic bullet buffs every single turn. So essentially, doing nothing, you'll still start stacking up magic bullet buffs. This is going to be the process for how you would actually get to 20 stacks, though obviously it's going to take time. And keep in mind that with the whole economy of using Magic Bullet, anytime that you use her cards, it's gonna consume these Magic Bullets, so just be careful. Also, Magic Bullet as a buff does not have a duration, so it will not fall off until it is consumed in some way, shape, or form. And that can happen either via her own attacks or via her NP, as we'll get to in a minute. Also, right here, you can see she gets Magic Circuits Rotation B. This is going to grant herself buff regeneration. This is literally just a passive that charges the party's NP gauge by 10% every turn, including herself. So this is in addition to the way that second skill works in her first form. So literally just naturally, she has a passive where everybody in the party basically has a a Prisma Cosmos equipped to them. MLB at that. So really, really, really strong, to say the least. And again, with that in perspective, using Prisma Cosmos on the supports alongside Aoko, they're just going to be rapid firing in Ps and helping Aoko do even more work. So really a nice thing for her. She's also just going to passively gain 3 critical stars every turn, in addition to the 2 that she already gains from outside the domain. So she gets 5 stars per turn, and that's not even including basically the effect of, the critical stars per turn every turn from her second skill in her first form. So she can get up to just 15 stars per turn with this second skill active passively. Not too bad. But again, keep in mind, you're probably not going to want to keep her in the first form too long unless you have some supportive aspirations for her. Still, though, really, really strong. And again, like I said, the issue here is that you're only going to get this when she's in super form. So you wouldn't be able to really combine it with that other effect. Still, now we get to the append skills here. And I'm going to actually start out with the third append because it's the least important, if I do say so. Remember, she's a foreigner, so anti-saber attack damage aptitude here really just has nothing that actually benefits her in any way, shape, or form. She does have some potential for super effective damage, but it's not really here. So you're going to be trying to utilize her more, I think, either as a carding unit or, again, maybe just in a scenario where you can find some sort of effectiveness for her, either, again, over something like a pretender or potentially just berserkers as normal. So to me, this third append is just not it, and you're going to want to focus your coins elsewhere. Now, I can make a good case for having the mana loading on Aoko. This is just going to help her get to an MP faster, and that kind of is her major gimmick. Like we already talked about, kind of like with Jekyll and Hyde, you want to get Jekyll into his second form as fast as you can so that you can get those really good and useful skills, kind of having that increased effectiveness. You're probably going to want to do the same thing with Aoko, but it may depend, and it may be on a more case-by-case basis. Either way, mana loading will just help you get to an NP faster, so it may be super nice for you. The first skill, though, I think bears worth a lot of mentioning. We already talked about how her extra attack consumes all magic bullet stacks to just get a ton of damage added to it. She also has the effect of her third skill in super form that can boost extra attack performance by up to 100% more. And then you have an append right here that can boost extra attack performance by 50% more. There's a lot of potential damage applications here to go around. So I'm not going to tell you in this case to definitely go with the mana loading first. To me, this one is a strong case for going with the extra attack first, but it is up to you to determine which one you desire more. The thing to keep in mind about extra attack performance, guys, is it's not just more damage, it's also more star gen and more NP gen with that extra attack. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the Noble Phantasm, because it is weird. So in her default form, using her Noble Phantasm, it's an arts support NP that basically will transform herself into Super Aoko. It's also going to increase her own buster performance and extra attack performance permanently. This is a weird way of saying that it's going to change them into AoE attacks. As you can see here, basically her her buster and her extra attack become AoE. The interesting thing to note about this, and I'm actually kind of glad that they put this in here, whenever you do an AoE attack, to explain this for you, think about it almost as 3 halves. Basically, you're going to divide the amount of damage you would normally do to 1 unit with that attack by 2, and then kind of multiply it by 3 because you're now hitting 3 different enemies. So it halves the damage, but you're hitting 3 different enemies, so you're still getting net more damage, and it's a very, very good thing. But this does mean that AoE card attacks, as we start to look forward to this being a thing in the game from now on, are going to certainly hit hard, but, not the insane amount that a single target card can actually do. So in that regard, temper your expectations some. You're not necessarily going to be in an era where everyone's just going to be waltzing right through AoE carding every single node. But that certainly could be a thing in some select scenarios, especially if damage bonus is applying or you just happen to get off some really powerful hits. Again, the extra attack can't crit, but the buster attack sure can. So just keep that in your back pocket as something that may be useful to you in the future. Now, you can see star and NP generation are also calculated per enemy. Crits are calculated for each individual enemy, so it's possible to hit one enemy with a crit while missing on the other with an attack. This is also kind of seen if you ever use an AoE NP, and you'll notice that certain enemies take more damage and certain enemies take less, because there's a plus or minus 10 modifier basically by 10% on any amount of damage that you do. It can kind of wobble around a little bit. There's different RNG, different seeds. So it's the same thing with crit chance as it is per enemy. Now you can see here the permanent amount of increase is dependent on NP level. So right here, you can potentially get up to 50% permanently. There is a good case to be made for NP5ing Aoko. It is just going to make her AoE attacks hit even harder. But it's not necessary in most cases, and I'm going to say even just getting NP1 is going to get you the effectiveness of utilizing her, so it's totally up to you to determine if you actually wish to roll for more copies. I'm going to say if you're a more free-to-play oriented player, just go for that token copy, get the effectiveness of the unit and its kit, and don't worry too much about, trying to reach the upper echelons of crazy damage. You're still going to be able to do good damage even at NP1, so you don't necessarily need to sweat not going for a higher NP level. Her overcharge effect here will also increase her own crit damage for 3 turns by up to 30%. So just a nice little extra thing. It does scale, though, very nicely at 10% each time. So if you did manage to get her to 500%, you would get 70% crit damage off of her NP for 3 turns. Definitely not a bad thing. So that's going to transform her, though, into Super Aoko from there. So once she is Super Aoko, unlike Jekyll and Hyde, if they try to NP in their Berserker form, get nothing. In Aoko's case, if she NPs in her super form, she now has an AoE arts damaging NP. So again, it is a 5-hit AoE arts NP. It's going to ignore invincibility for 1 turn. So in that regard, not really that big of a deal to have an Invuln Pierce type of CE on her, but certainly could be something if you just are trying to add to the carding. It can make Honey Lake a suggestion for her for CEs, but I'm going to talk about CEs that I think at least make a little bit more sense ergonomically and synergistically with her. Now, in that regard, she's also going to ignore defense for 1 turn. Just keep in mind that this is defense buffs, like actual defense and damage cut. And this is going to deal damage to all enemies from there. Also, she's going to deal 100 plus 10 times the number of stacks that you have of Magic Bullet. And the NP will consume those Magic Bullet stacks. So, essentially, if you have 10 Magic Bullet stacks, that is the maximum that the NP can consume, it is going to consume them and grant you basically, at that point, 200% super effective damage. Really nice in that regard. But the interesting thing to denote about this is if you have more than 10 stacks, you will have some stacks left over. That is to say, it will only consume the 10. And you can see it consumes the 10 stacks of the earliest Magic Bullet buffs, not the latest. So the interesting thing to denote here as well is that she does have another damage dealing overcharge effect as well. This is going to help her out. It's going to reduce all enemies' defense for 3 turns, activating before damage goes out. So it's going to make the NP hit harder, but it's also going to allow carding to kind of help mop up things. Now, there's something interesting that I also want to talk about, as we did kind of mention AoE attacks here and extra attacks and kind of how they function. Just keep one thing in mind. There's this concept of a chain break whenever you're utilizing cards in unique ways. This can happen by virtue of an enemy dying, but usually it happens by virtue of you broke up a sequence of cards with an NP. So that's always been a thing that you could do. So let's say you were to card maybe the leftmost enemy, and you hit them with a card, and then you fired off an NP. Well, if, I don't know, maybe the rightmost enemy number 3, ends up living from the NP, your cards change over to that enemy. That's always been something you could do. You could always stagger cards to try and shift things around. The interesting thing about this is AoE attacks are also considered a chain break. So if you utilize them, let's say you were to do a singular normal card, and then like, let's say Aoko's Buster card. So let's say you did like Arts and then Buster, and then Quick, and then the extra, or something like that. That would mean the first attack would go on your target, then she would apply the AoE attack to everybody, and the Quick card after that would go to that same target if it's alive, or switch to a different target. It would not continue to keep going basically into the abyss, granting you overkill. It would instead switch targets. So keep that in the back of your head, as well as another technique that you can use to utilize AoE carding effectively, as that's something, like I said, again, you're going to have to get used to. If we get enough robust mechanics involving AoE carding, I will go ahead and make a video kind of detailing the specifics of it, but it's at least important to understand how it works for Aoko and utilizing her kit effectively. Still, definitely another thing to denote. So let's go ahead and talk about CE options for Aoko. Now, to me, one of the best options is obviously going to be Black Grail. You're going to get a ton of damage from her NP that way, but this is probably still just looking at her from a more conventional mindset. This is utilizing her as more of a 3-turn unit rather than as somebody that has insane carding potential. Also, keep in mind, she has that need to get to her first NP, which can slow you down. This is going to make it very difficult to utilize Aoko as a true 3-turner. Instead, you're going to really need to fire off her NP the first time, and then maybe have her handle like a second and a third wave, rather than being someone that handles all 3 waves. That may be more effective to having somebody else in the party handle the first wave for her, either an arts buffer that can also deal an AoE MP, or maybe even someone like Chen Gong, where maybe you utilize all your supports, then you have Chen Gong fire off his MP, kill one of the supports to rotate again, and he'll have taken out a wave for you. You could also do things like a Rash to also have him take a wave. So there's numerous other ways that you could do this. But the idea here in concept is going to be that it's going to be difficult to make Aoko handle all 3 waves herself in a 3-turn sequence. You're going to instead just have to either punt in some way, shape, or form by having somebody else handle a wave, or just going longer than 3 turns. It is what it is, but that's a thing that can happen. So Black Grail can be utilized on her, but keep in mind that Black Grail, other than the insane attack up if you manage to have it at MLB, isn't really going to help her carding performance at all. So that is something to be considered. The next up on the list that we can really recommend is going to be K-Scope. This is just going to allow you to get to the NP immediately turn 1 without any help. So this will allow Aoko to just go ahead, fire off the NP right away potentially, and just kind of do her thing. Even if you don't have MLB, you might have the mana loading unlocked on her and allow her to do that. Or maybe you just delay by like a turn, let her passive and maybe her second skill take effect, and just go right in. But I do think one of the better options is going to kind of be to start her out with a 50% starting charge CE. Obviously, if you have the append, that's going to then bring her all the way up to 70%, and meaning that like just a Castoria's overflow charge would actually be able to handle her getting to the first NP. Again, remember, in her super form, she does have a 100% charge skill, but if you wanted her to NP 2 times in the super form, you would definitely need to take enough charge to allow her to facilitate that. That is something to be concerned with. But I do think this is going to provide you with a nice blend of starting charge to get to the first NP, but also still some nice attack stats and steroids to actually help her perform down the stretch. Ocean Flyer is a nice welfare. It's definitely going to be helpful, at least in the terms of making her NP hit harder. Carding, not so much, but that is what it is. And let's just say if you wanted something to actually help you out with all aspects of this, Golden Sumo's obviously going to be a really good one. The only thing I'm going to caution you about is remember all those attack up stacks that she can get from her magic bullet? Yeah, just keep in mind that Golden Sumo also increasing attack means that those are going to be additive, and it's probably not going to be the best of scaling, but this would at least be a CE that would impact everything that she does, not just her NP, but also her carding, and it's not even going to care what type of card it is. The Golden Sumo can be really useful for a unit like Aoko that's going to be this hybrid NP slash carding type of unit. And again, I think Golden Sumo is a great recommendation given its welfare status, and especially now on JP, since you can go ahead and buy it from the Mana Prism shop now. So again, definitely one to keep your eye on. We do have some other CEs down the stretch that may be good hybrid options for her. So something like Goddess's Fortune Slip here is an all attack scaling one. This one is going to have arts and buster performance and starting charge, but then also a crit star bomb to maybe help her get started on turn 1. We do also have something like Song of the Cradle. This one's actually a really nice welfare CE from the arcade collab event. So everyone's going to be able to get this one. It's all attack scaling. It's going to have arts and buster performance of 10%, NP gen rate of 8%, and starting charge of 50. So another really, really nice one. Ice Warrior is going to be one that you guys here on NA are going to be getting this year with the summer event. But the unfortunate aspect to this one is that it is split stats, unfortunately. So maybe not the best candidate to level 100 this CE, but still a decent option as it's arts and buster with NP damage and starting charge. And then, honestly, if we're going to deal mostly with carding, things like Another Ending, again, can be really, really nice for you. Obviously, it's going to increase the arts card performance to help out with the NP, to help out with her cards. And then crit damage by 25%. But it's also one of those rare CEs in the game like Black Grail that if you have MLB of it, it actually ends up scaling up to 2400 attacks. So it's really, really nice. And it does have a buster counterpart out there. So again, depending on what you prefer, either for arts or buster, you can use this one or that one. Talk of the Hot Sands is also another one that chat brought up as a worthy mention. This one is going to end up being all attack scaling, but it's a much rarer and harder to get CE nowadays. But it does have at least star absorption to help her soak and crit damage. So as you're going down the stretch, it can definitely be a thing. If you're maybe sitting at like 4 out of 5 copies of this as well, you can actually spend the rare prisms to get the Chaldea Boys 2017 portrait exchange in order to get it. Just be careful because that's also the same exchange that has Outrage in it, which is one of the only ways at this point, short of a banner existing with a taunt CE on it, to actually get a taunt CE. So just keep that in mind depending on how you wanted to handle that. But again, so that's going to be the recommendations for CEs for Aoko. So next, let's actually talk about her refund numbers. Now, as we start to look at this, obviously the default NP is not going to have anything to play, but the NP itself will, as it is a 5-hit AoE NP. Now, basically, with just 2 times Castoria against neutral enemies here, it's easy to exceed at least the 50% breakpoint. That's kind of that bare minimum for a lot of units. She is art, so we kind of expect that. So at even 3 hits of overkill, which is going to be, if you're facing 3 enemies, that's 1 hit of overkill each, which is just meaning that you killed the enemies. So at 3 hits out of a possible 15 of overkill, you're looking at basically 78.48% there NP refund with just double Castoria against a neutral set of enemies. This can obviously get better, it can get worse. And again, it's just going to depend on how much overkill you're doing, but this is assuming kind of a bare minimum roll as long as you actually killed each enemy. Now, if you manage to cap out all the way at 15 out of 15 possible hits, so 3 enemies in a wave, and you manage to kill with literally the very first hit of each hit of the NP on those enemies, you would still only get back to about 93%. So don't expect to fully refund off of Aoko's NP without, using a third support or something like that. Getting there at that point is going to be very difficult, but it might be a thing. Still, if we start to look at something like Berserkers, where she would actually be effective, just keep in mind that Berserkers don't have good NP refund whenever you hit them. So the good news is that 0 overkill hits, meaning you don't even kill, Aoko's NP against Berserkers would still refund about 60%. So not too terrible right there. And again, at even 3 hits of overkill, you're looking at basically 65%. So definitely not bad numbers. But you can definitely see as it's already kind of smushed it downward in terms of the overall performance. Now, at this point, let's go ahead and talk numbers for Aoko. This is her under her own power. And keep in mind that in most scenarios, you're going to end up having external buffs on her. So this is neutral numbers with no outside buffs other than Aoko's own skills on her. This is assuming normal Aoko's skill 3 arts up and super Aoko's skill 1 arts up are both active though. So it's kind of an ideal scenario for her, but not necessarily like too crazy. So you can see again at NP1, neutral damage against normal enemies, basically with no additional stacks or anything like that, you're looking at about 25k. This doesn't seem like it's a crazy number. It's not, but it is still okay for what it is. Now, remember, you can get the magic bullet buff stacks, so at that point, you're looking at basically with her NP getting 30,000. At even 5 stacks, which is relatively easy to get still, you're looking at 37.5 thousand. And at 8 stacks, which is still relatively easy to get, you're looking at 45,000. It's going to be getting upwards of 8 stacks that this gets a little bit more difficult, but remember the maximum amount of stacks you could have at any given NP is 10, so 50,000 is your number. And from there, it's going to end up scaling up even more as you start getting more NP levels. As you can see already, the sheer difference that something like an NP2 is going to make. So definitely raw numbers, pretty solid, especially as you start considering stacks down the long run. Now, let's go ahead and talk about a charge scenario for Aoko here. And you can see this is utilizing basically double Castoria and Oberon. The interesting thing about this is going to be this is neutral enemies, and we're going to sacrifice Castoria's attack ups from turn 1 for the Black Grail damage for turn 4. Yes, I said turn 4, because the way you've kind of got to think about this is Aoko needs to NP a first time in order to get to her AoE form. Unlike someone like Melisson, we can't start her out in that second form, unfortunately, so it is what it is. But the interesting thing to denote here is you could basically start her out with her maxed out mana loading here, do the double Castoria sort of setup there, maybe save one of their 20% charges. That would be enough for that initial NP to convert her. Then basically you could end up essentially taking the 10% region that she would actually get and actually just turn around and go ahead and pop her 100% charge skill. Or you could maybe like mix and match and like start popping the buffs earlier depending on when you wanted it. But essentially that would be enough to allow her to NP basically the first wave. Then from there, she's actually going to refund about 49% right here. This is spicy numbers, but it's right there on the line. You get the remaining 20% from Castoria, the remaining 20% from Oberon, and then some extra refund from her passive right there. That's enough for her to NP a second time. Then from here, you use Oberon's remaining 50%. She would have refunded 68%. So there, that is a 4-turn, 3-turn for Aoko if you really had to do it. But again, it's totally up to you to determine whether or not that's something you want. Keep in mind that you could also just go ahead and utilize somebody to handle the first wave for Aoko while allowing Aoko to go ahead and convert herself to her super form for waves 2 and waves 3. So it's up to you to determine ultimately how to do that. Let's go ahead and talk about damage in this scenario. It's not the most ideal, and you can see it leaves for a little bit of a wonky graph here. But let's go ahead and talk about this. So you can see we have a turn 1 and then wave 1, wave 2, wave 3 type scenario. So this is the, hey, we're converting her into her other form. But this is kind of not the ideal way to handle her. We're doing it this way more for comparative reasons. But you can see NP1 at 5 stacks here, basically at this point, which is what you would get because you would have already popped her first skill outside of that and gotten 3 stacks off of that. You would have fired off her NP and converted her into super form, which would have given you 2 stacks for that, leading to 5. That's going to get you wave 1 damage of 155. And then basically by wave 2 here, you're only going to have 2 stacks because the NP consumed everything. So you're only going to get the 2 from the passive. And then essentially you're going to end up at 145. So it's actually going to dip a little bit on wave 2 if you handle it this way. But again, up to you to determine how you want to handle and manage the skills. And then basically by wave 3, you would have gotten 2 more stacks. But now you will have actually gotten her first skill back, because when Aoko transforms into her second form, she actually does continue the skill cooldowns from her first form if you had already used them. So if you hadn't used skill 1 when you transformed her, the skill cooldown on skill 1 will go up to 4 turns from 2. But if you had already utilized the skill, it would have stuck at that 2 turns, and then the turn would have gone over and it would have been down to only 1. So by turn 3, you've got that first skill back and can utilize it again. So that means you got 2 stacks plus the 6 from utilizing that first skill in her super form, leading you to 8 stacks. And again, you can see very respectable neutral numbers here. So, and obviously from there, it's just going to go up if we're talking about NP2. Sorry, it's a little cut off here, but that's 431k. So again, definitely really nice in that regard. Now, just keep in mind that the assumptions at play here are that stacks will be consumed on NP. Again, the way the stacks work is a little bit wonky, and you kind of want to save the 6 extra stacks and the arts up from Super Aoko skill 1 for more damage in wave 3. That's kind of what you're doing if you're trying to handle her this way. Now, to be clear here, let's go ahead and compare her to some other AoE foreigners. I think this is actually going to be really nice to showcase a little bit here. So this is going to be Hokusai with double Castoria Oberon and a level 100 Black Grail. All of a sudden, you're looking at some interesting numbers here. Basically, NP1 is actually going to come in very shy of Aoko in that turn. But again, we're looking at maybe a turn 3 versus turn 4 for Aoko. And certainly right here, you're also seeing that basically she has upward mobility with her niche here of man trait. So that's going to allow her to much more kind of combat someone like Aoko in premise. And then we also end up having Kukulkan here. That's, you know, at this point, just a pretty crazy unit. As you can see, NP1 with a double Koyanskaya Oberon and cranking, not even MLB Black Grail. This would still get her to 394k. She still has threat to humanity. She still has Earth trait and the capability of getting both. So rest assured, Kukulkan is not dethroned in any way in terms of damage. If we are just comparing outside of niche, though, the numbers are somewhat similar, but still going to require a little bit of monkeying on your own part in order to get Aoko to basically do similar numbers at NP1. Now, keep in mind, though, this is more of a focus on NP damage, and the real thing to denote is how much Aoko has parting potential and the ability to kind of mop up waves outside of that. So Aoko might not be the most meta unit at first, especially not until we can develop some better techniques with the carding. But at the end of the day, she's going to provide quite a bit of firepower down the stretch. So it's up to you to determine if that's going to be something you desire over just straight up NP after NP after NP. And that doesn't mean that a unit like Kukulkan doesn't card hard. She does. It's just going to be that a unit like Aoko is probably going to have a little bit more staying power and capability to kind of keep going beyond a 3-turn duration. But again, up to you to determine if that's something you want. We do have another comparison here in Jack de Molay. This is 2 times Summer Scotty with Oberon and a level 100 Black Grail. And you can see here that, again, damage numbers looking very similar, but that's outside of her curse niche, which is relatively easy to get. So Jack de Molay can definitely do quite a bit. This is why I say, be careful, don't necessarily sleep on these units. just because Aoko's the new sexy unit that's come out does not necessarily mean that she's power creeping everybody in existence. Her strength is going to lie in the adaptability of her kit rather than her raw damage numbers. And so again, I think the carding potential here, which I have to apologize for, we will not model for you just because it's a little bit more difficult and kind of a lot of on a case-by-case basis in a particular node. But it is an interesting thing to denote how capable she can be of scaling that damage. Even in the case of getting, a 17 stack of those magic bullets on her extra attack. It's going to require quite a bit of just kind of sitting there and waiting for the stacks to go up without carding with her. But at the end of the day, it is something that you could do if you really wanted to have a sort of big explosion on the right turn, maybe where an enemy suddenly becomes vulnerable. We do also have a welfare that can definitely be compared to, and this is going to be Nocnaria. As you can see here, she does that 306k. This is guaranteed in P5. It's Oberon, Castoria, Black Grail. So that's a thing. Just Nocnaria's got a little bit of weirdness to her kit, and she actually almost really wants to be with Castoria more than anyone else due to the sort of unique aspects of it. But still, Nocnaria can definitely compete, just maybe not going to be on the same level as some of the 5 stars truly in their niche. But still, I think it's actually pretty solid for her in that regard. So let me know what you guys think about Aoko at this point. I'm sure you guys have plenty of questions, but I should have covered just about everything. I know this was a longer video, but I felt the need to actually go super in depth on this one just because of how unique and new someone like Aoko is going to be for the game. So again, will you guys be rolling for her? Which Ascension is your favorite? And do you like her animations, particularly that bunny one that she has? I'll be curious to hear you guys' thoughts. I will see you guys for the next video. Thank you. Have a good one. Oh. The mana prisms only, or you have to spend a rare prism to unlock the ability to buy it. I believe it's mana prisms only. I'd have to double check though. Sorry about that, chat. I know that one took a long time, but I really wanted to hammer that one down because I know that one was important, right? Okay, now do Sono G cracks whip. Chat, it's already 10:40. Don't get me wrong, right? I want to go over him, but I think one, my voice is kind of shot if you guys can't hear it already, and two, I think at this point this will be good for now. This is the one that everyone really wants to see. So I'll actually try to get this video out for you guys tomorrow if I can, if you guys want that. Yeah, I probably won't get to cover Sono G until Monday. So assume Sono G on Monday, and we also cover the 4-star ticket. In the meantime, like I said, I'm gonna be doing the collab on JP, and I'll also probably be still doing the collab on NA, but potentially grinding the download campaign on the side. So not everybody has to do that, but that's gonna be something that I'm gonna try to do. Turns out 5th magic was the bullets you made along the way. Yeah. I hope you guys found that informative. I hope you guys learned something from that. Maybe something you didn't see out there on the internet today. Like I said, this is why I had a all hands on deck. We need to talk about this because I wasn't able to do this during the day because of work being so busy for me. But no, this was a big one. Can't wait for Alice. I just hope Alice has a much more simple kit. That's the only thing I hope. I honestly, the most crazy part about her at this point, this passive is just super nuts. It converts invincibility to anti-purge, grants her 2 magic bullet buffs, and literally charges the entire party 10% every turn. What the hell is that? You know that's not going to be the case with Alice. I just hope she's really straightforward. What is the grinding to do on the download campaign? We have, I believe, either all the embers available or half cost. I think it's half cost embers right now. I'd have to double check though. Anyone have a link to the page with Sojiro's details? I can't find it. He should be available here. Let me double check for you. Yeah, you're right here. Thank you. Someone got it. I don't think Alice will be less complicated. Probably not. Okay, hold on. What? What is that anime? This is why we don't like face card math. Oh yes, absolutely. Like, I watched Bob sit there and model it because so part of what we were doing to explain to you guys, I told everybody when we were in VIP earlier, I was like, listen, I don't need to know whether or not like the exact specifics of how this buff specifically works. I just need to know, does it hit the cap? And the reason I said this is because, again, this grants plus 50%, right? Chat, the theoretical cap for any buff in the game usually has a tendency to be like 500, and there's actually like a hidden 100 that everyone always doesn't realize is there. And so it's an interesting thing to denote, but that just means that this would be an easily hittable cap at either 10 or 12 stacks of Magic Bullet if that were true. So whenever you use the extra card interaction, in theory, it would be fairly easy to hit the cap naturally. Doesn't appear to be the case. So I'm not sure why. If one of you guys wants to like do the detective sleuthing and like get back to me on that, I would appreciate it, because like I would love to know. But the reason I just had to know that for stream, that like in case anyone was curious, no, this interaction does not hit the cap, at least from our normal testing. I'm not going to say you can't find a cap. You probably can. You can probably get all the way up to like that 17 stacks that we talked about and then stack a whole bunch of other attack buffs on her. And then, yeah, she might hit a cap. But like normally she will not hit a cap just from this. So I'm already on that. Yeah. My suspect is either that this particular extra attack interaction is coded differently, or that it may have something to do with the fact that the extra attack being AoE basically is half. But I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. Luis, thank you for the follow. Pair her with Summer BB and see her nuke. Make it worth. It's the best way. I created a lot of swords for Aoko. Yeah, Avalon was doing the testing. And so how we tested this, by the way, chat, is I basically told Avalon, okay, do a run with 20 stacks and then do a run with like, I don't know, like 15 or like 12 or whatever. And see, is there damage variance, or is it coming out to be the exact same number? If it comes out to be the exact same number, you're hitting a cap. If it doesn't, there you go. And when I say the exact same number, I mean like the exact same number plus or minus 10%. But like we kind of know the damage range, and it's like if it's outside the range, there wasn't a cap. And from our testing, there was not a cap. So good. Like, and I say this, there probably is a cap in the game somewhere. But I guess one of the other alternatives is it could be that they theoretically change the code to increase the cap. But I assume that's not the case until proven otherwise. But that's something only the Atlas guys are going to be able to tell us at that point. I like her, but I was worried I wouldn't have more Saint-Court's banner for Tiamat or Draco. Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about Draco now. There was a cap in the game because I've met it. Yeah, no, we know there's a cap in the game. Like, it's just normally you can't hit within like a conventional like 3-turn setup. You usually can't hit the cap. It usually requires some sort of like plug suit slingshotting in order to get it done. Or again, like with Miss Crane or something like that. To be honest, can't wait for her class score. Giving even more extra attack to Aoko. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even bring that up. Like, there are so many sources of extra attack up at this point. It's just fucking nuts. Like, she is just going to have some crazy extra attack potential there. And again, you could just like, chat, you could literally just like get her to her NP and then like make her buster. Just make her Unga Boonga buster. The only problem that you're going to have is like that Super Aoko version of the kit just only has the singular buster card. So that's a big oof. But single buster's oof, yeah. Like I said, to me, I would rather flip-flop these two. I would rather have triple arts to be able to get to my first NP, and I would rather have double buster with the extra for even more. There's an issue of her normal buster turning arts when transformed. Yes. Oh, that's a good point. I actually didn't mention this, but this is something that we noticed. So, fun fact. So, chat, let's say that you are doing her God, I wish I had talked about this. Let's say you're doing her first NP. This is the NP that transforms her into super form. So you might do her NP, okay? And then Buster. The interesting aspect to this is that the second that MP goes off, she's in super form. Super form means Buster attacks are AoE. And obviously the extra attack would be too. The peculiar part is now you are in the super deck, so one of those Buster cards became an arts card instead. And unless you have that card, like faux pod, command coded, some way, shape, or form, you're not gonna know which card's which. So it's entirely possible that you do something instead like this: NP, arts, Buster, and you think you're gonna get the AoE attack, and then you get NP arts, and you don't get the NP attack, and maybe like, or sorry, the AoE attack, and so then maybe like you fail to actually kill the things that you wanted to kill. So I could see someone getting really pissed over that, but like, pro tip there. Put different command codes on the two Buster cards and make sure you know which is which. So that way you know, this is the fourth Buster card and this is the fifth. Because that way, if it's the fourth one, you know it's about to become an arts card. Yeah, I should have mentioned that. That is a good point. How were my rolls? They were awful. She gets the triple Buster bonus still. Wait, what do you mean by triple Buster bonus? You mean like 3 of a kind Buster cards, or are you talking about something else? When changing the arts card, will it become an arts chain? That's a good question. I actually haven't tested that. So the interesting question here, and I know why it's being asked, is that basically, if you were to do this, chat, if you were to do NP Arts Buster, and you set that up, and it locks in, and it's not an arts chain at the beginning, but then you transform into Super Aoko from the NP, and this becomes a second arts card, meaning that this is now NP arts. It is now a triple arts chain in theory, which means that the extra attack will do more. The thing is, I don't know if that deliberation happens only right at the beginning, like if the check occurs only right when you slot in the cards, or if it would change into that to grant more damage. And that is the reason why you want it. 3 of a kind into an extra attack grants more damage of any type. So triple quick into an extra will grant more damage than just, like quick arts. Triple arts into an extra will grant more damage. Triple Buster into an extra will grant more damage and even more damage because it's Buster. So, but I would have to look at that one. I don't actually know. That would be another one that we could test. I'd imagine it doesn't. I don't think it does either, because it like so this is another interesting concept, and this is why I suspect it doesn't. So, fun fact: if you have two players NPs, let's say this is Nitocris and this is Castoria, and let's say Nitocris just happens to be stunned or something, right? Actually, Nitocris is kind of a bad one because she has a cleanse on her third skill, but regardless, let's just say she's stunned, okay? And you want to do Castoria's NP into Nitocris's NP because Castoria's NP would cleanse? You can't. The game literally won't let you select it. It'll tell you, no, it's stunned. Even if you could set it up in a sequence of ways in which it would be available, the game says, no, it's not available right now as you're picking the cards. So it's an interesting way to look at it. It's that it's determined the moment you select the chain and it won't change during the animations. Yeah. And that is another interesting thing. The animations here are the exact same. Like, they did this on purpose so that they could change the card type. They knew what they were doing. They're bamboozling you, chat. Oh. Okay, though. I think me gonna be done for tonight, chat. My voice is about kaput. I'm gonna send you guys over to Mr. CZ. He's actually doing Aoko summons himself. And like I said, I will have a surprise for you guys tomorrow. It's not a huge one. Don't get your hopes up. It's okay if you miss it or you watch it on the VOD, but like I will have a surprise for you. Oh, again, go give Mr. CZ my love, and I will see you guys tomorrow.